warm welcome to Portimão in the south of Portugal. We're in the southwest corner of this country, and it's very, very warm down in this area of Europe still, of course, the heat lingering on late into October. That's part of the reason whilst we're here seeking out great racing conditions for the final event of the year in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. There have been various meetings through the course of the year, including two 55-minute races during Le Mans week on Thursday and on Saturday morning of the great race. The rest of the events have been the bread and butter, the 2-hour affairs at places like Paul Ricard at Austria, as well in the Red Bull Ring, Spa, and here at Portimão. So a great season it has been. We've already crowned champions in LMP3 and in GT3, but there are second place is in the championship still up for grabs. We've already crowned Kessel as the entry for the 2019 Le Mans 24 Hours as well, and that was the big prize up for grabs in the GT3 category. 7 cars there, 18 cars in LMP3, and they've already come out of the pit lane and are assembled on the grid. It's Johnny Palmer and Graham Goodwin, the editor of dailysportscar.com, to take you through it. And there, from the helicopter shot, an indication of the landscape nearby, this 2.9 mile, 4.6 kilometre circuit, which is just a true roller coaster in every sense. Massive gradient change, the twists and turns as well, 16 corners, and all just as challenging as the rest, really. There's a great viewing spot as well from that tower to the left of shot, where Graham reckons you can see about 80% of the circuit if you're standing on the top level.
More from where you've got the windmills at the top there. Indeed. It is indeed, though, windy. Yeah, it is a fabulous viewing spot from there. And that young lady may be smiling holding that flag, but she's holding it tightly because it's very breezy indeed. Huge downpour overnight again, but clear blue skies above us. It is very cold out there, though, Johnny, and it is very windy, and that will have a part to play in this race, I'm sure. Following wind at parts of this circuit, but there's going to be a crosswind at other parts of the circuit. It's going to make it tricky under braking for some of these cars.
Yes, I suppose ambient temperature is chilly, but take the wind away and actually it would be a very nice day. Yeah. But because we're so high up here, this place is certainly no stranger to a little bit of blustery conditions. So many races on the bill this weekend. This is the first one that obviously we've been paying attention to, but we've had little Caterhams racing, TCRs as well. 10 races in total this weekend, putting together a great package of Portimão locals and the ACO. The ELMS race due to start at 12:30 this afternoon through till 4:30. But 2 hours of Michelin Le Mans Cup to get through. First of all, we're approaching 8:45 local time, and these cars qualified yesterday, 15 minutes for the GT3s, 15 minutes for the LMP3s, and we left yesterday thinking it would be a CD sport car on pole position, but number 30, driven really well by Fabien Leverne, has been put to the back of the grid, Graham. It is. It was the splitter height. It was a terrible day yesterday for CD Sport, losing one car in a nasty accident in practice, straight on into the barriers, I'm afraid, and that car is no more. Driver had a bit of hospital treatment, but is otherwise going to be okay. But then the 30 car, having put in a sparkling performance in qualifying later on in the day, that position was taken away. It will start from 25th on the grid behind the GT cars, and that is splitter height. So we do have, Johnny, a new pole sitter. Yes, and that has become Tony Wells in the number 2 car, the Kyriakos Nielsen entry, and it will be Tony to start that car. It was Nicola Morlini who had the big crash yesterday, wasn't it, in practice? So that was a DB Autosport car rather than CD Sport.
I do apologise.
That's all right. Just to clear that up, so we are minus that machine, and we were trying to work out which one we were without prior to coming on air. That would therefore mean we originally had 26, we're now down to 25, so that answers that question, doesn't it? All the 7 GT3 cars are present on the grid, and Sergio Pianazzola was streets ahead of anybody else in his session, and there are 4 LMP3 cars between he and the next GT3 car on the grid, so he'll start 14th overall, Sergio Pianazzola, and it will be him to do the opening stint before handing over to Giacomo Piccini in car number 8. Absolutely. We've got, again, it will be 2 formation laps. The race will start at the end of that first formation lap. We're going to see the 5-minute board in about 7 minutes' time from yesterday birthday boy Eduardo Freitas.
This is the number 98, Motorsport 98 Ligier, Eric de Doncker. It is his team. We'll share once again with Dino Lenardi. That car starting from 12th on the grid. And behind him, there's going to be a couple of the cars that will start with their pro drivers, including Joop van Uitert.
Yes.
And Alex Capardi. We'll talk about Alex in a moment. A little bit of news from Alex. Cool Racing getting ready to go. They've got exciting news emerging this weekend. Their new car for 2019 is here. It is an LMP2 car. And they announced yesterday evening their star driver will be testing here tomorrow. Will be none other than Nico Lapierre, 3 times LMP2 winner at the Le Mans 24 Hours. In fact, unbeaten in LMP2 at the Le Mans 24 Hours. And Nico will be joining the squad for a full ELMS season next year.
So in LMP3 this year, we already have champions. I mentioned this at the start of the broadcast. Jens Pettersson and Leonard Hugenboom sealing the championship with a round to spare, having taken victory at Paul Ricard at the start of the year in April. Monza then the following month. They didn't take victory in either of the 2 Le Mans races, the 2 55-minute affairs. That instead went to car number 11, the machine of Mikkel Jensen and Kay van Berlo. And then Mikey Benham and Duncan Tappy won the Saturday morning race for Lannon Racing. DKR, though, back to the top of the podium at Red Bull Ring. And it was a victory for Ikuria Kost-Nielsen, Alistair McCaig and Colin Noble at Spa. But the result that the number 3 car got in that Spa race was enough to seal the championship.
Well, the real appeals for me, particularly in the LMP3 class here, is it is going to be an ebb and flow. We've got some very capable professional drivers, some very capable non-professional drivers as well in this race, and you are going to see cars storming to the front with the pro drivers starting this race, particularly, as I say, the 2 RLR cars. And you're also going to see some fantastic defensive driving as well. We've seen that throughout the season here. I expect we're going to see some fireworks from Ikuria Kost-Nielsen, from RLR, from DKR, without a shadow of a doubt. Cool Racing certainly seem to be on a roll at the moment, and then there's Lannon Racing Norma, which does seem to be coming on song as well.
They were a lot slower at the end of the straight, like 10 kilometres down.
Gotcha. Okay, so you do feel.
Now, we've not mentioned the team that actually is the double championship winner in this championship. Not this team, Graf Racing, you look at the 40 car now, but United Autosports. And what we now know, confirmed, is for the very first time in the ELMS side of things, the title will go to somewhere other than a team based on the same industrial estate in Garforth in West Yorkshire.
Yes.
Here, DKR Engineering have done the business. United Autosports really have got their own thing going on this one. The Garforth Cup, I'm being told that they're talking about. This is a bit of a rivalry between the 3 squads that we'll see doing battle. But what you're looking at this morning, with 2 hours of action ahead of us, undoubtedly are teams and drivers that will form a key part of endurance racing in the next decade to come. Lannon Racing here from the UK, all UK driver lineup as well. It is Duncan Tappy just standing to the right of the car. Mikey Benham will start the car, enjoying his racing. He's for the first time this season, I think he's just in the zone there, eyes closed. But first time this season doing double duty, Johnny, with the ELMS and with Lannon here in the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
Yeah, and again, I'm sure that was all part of the longer-term plan to get Mikey into the ELMS eventually, and it's a classic time to do it, really, the final event of the year. It means that it gives him, you know, the experience of one race, and they can build on that then through the winter period and try and work on a deal.
Just notice as we've got the long shot down the start-finish straight. Start-finish straight is straight, but it isn't level, and it also has some distinct wet patches still from the heavy downpour overnight. We've had, actually it's the UK Caterhams out this morning, 48 of them making the journey for their away trip this season, but they're going to have to be careful. It's going to dry very rapidly, but it was torrential overnight, and not for the first time this weekend either.
No, true, and therefore I suppose everyone will be used to dealing with a green circuit early in the morning. By green I mean no rubber really laid down, because much of that will have been washed away, and the grip that built up through the course of lots of track action yesterday, whether that be races or qualifying sessions, you're kind of resetting the grip levels on the track, and they're going to be different from, you know, from the racing line to the marbles on the outside of the bend. Tricky for these drivers on the opening couple of laps, and particularly bearing in mind that the majority starting are the bronze, less experienced pilots.
Absolutely. Long shadows still. The sun is pretty high in the sky at the moment. So cool racing again. We got a quick shot, by the way, of an additional car for this race. It's one we've seen dip in and out the championship from Kia Racing, Danish team, 43 squad. That car will be starting pretty high up the order in 5th. The GT group, 7 cars, as Johnny said a little earlier in the broadcast, 6 Ferraris, the solo Porsche. And when you get a chance, take a look, as close a look as you can at the livery of the pole-setting car and brake car.
We'll get plenty of glimpses of that, I'm sure. This is the number 79 car, which will start from the 2nd row. The Kyrgios Nielsen, 2 cars from this team, remember, in this race. Alistair McCaig and Colin Noble, winners last time out at Spa, will start from 3rd position, and it will be McCaig, the 36-year-old bronze, to begin this race before handing over to Colin Noble.
Yeah, well, the team come here with a 2018 title in the bag, and that's gone to Kyrgios Nielsen, to, oddly enough, 2 drivers in the different cars, Colin Noble and Tony Wells, sharing a car in the UK Championship. 2nd consecutive title win in that series for Noble. And he's one of those coming men, isn't he, really?
Yeah, very, very busy weekends these for Colin, because he has to think about 2 lots of sessions, 2 lots of free practice sessions to kick off the weekend, then 2 qualifying sessions on the same day, and then often he has a Saturday evening race to do as well. It's just that here in Portugal, the Michelin Le Mans Cup event has been moved to early Sunday morning.
He's going to be a busy boy. It's going to get him ready for the rigours of his endurance racing career to come. Quick shot there of the DKR engineering car, the championship winning car. Jens Pedersen will start the number 3 Norma from the front row, but not from pole position.
And just getting word that it's going to be 2 formation laps, I think, because of the change of conditions from yesterday, and therefore the race will actually start at the start of that not the part of the track that the Caterhams were using this morning.
There's our pole position car. It's the other Kyrgios car. Tony Wells will start the sort of hybrid livery to Kyrgios Red River Sports.
Yes.
Red River Sport, of course, the racing consultancy set up by the now allegedly retired racing driver, Johnny Molan. Morning, JMO.
Retired from racing, although obviously still does race cars, but the main purpose for that is to support his customers.
Absolutely.
He will have you know.
He will, repeatedly. A little bit of gentle leg pulling for JMO. But yeah, he'll be doing the Asia Le Mans series. A very chilly looking Pierre Fillon. Cedric Viat, the operations director of LMEM, looks after this series, the European Le Mans series, and of course the FIWEC. We'll be seeing both these 2 gentlemen in a couple of weeks' time in Shanghai. But there is a lot of, damp-looking tarmac there, isn't there?
Yeah.
This could be quite tricky.
Well, yeah, particularly for the first few laps as they all sort themselves out. Clearly it's going to be 2 abreast down to the first corner at the end of the 2nd green flag lap, by which point the clock will have started to tick down. 2 hours, remember, but the race time will start at the end of the first green flag lap, and that's a scenario we can often get if 2 green flag laps are required. Here's the grid. So starting then from the pole position, it's Tony Wells to the right of that graphic, and alongside Jens Pedersen for DKR Engineering. On the 2nd row, the other Kyrgios machine of Alistair McCaig and Antonin Borger for Cool Racing. 3rd row is Kio Racing of Denmark with Paul Scheusner, who's again on double duty alongside Alexander West. First time he's been part of the Michelin Le Mans Cup, the Swede. Mikey Benham for Lannon and Adrian Schiller for Graf are on the 4th row. And 9th and 10th, Nicolas Schatz, the many-time French hill climb champion for DB Autosport, and the United Autosports car of Naj Hussein, who briefly topped the times yesterday. Adrian Trillier to start the Graf number 39 alongside Motorsport 98 and Eric de Donker, the Belgian. Joop van Uitert, watch him come through the order from 13th position for RLR M Sport, and Sergio Pianazzola took pole position in GT3. Richard Mines starts the 23 United Autosports car alongside Alex Capadia, again someone who will scythe his way through the order, I'm sure. Brooks Speed International car number 4, John Showerman, alongside Jim Maguire, so an all-American 9th row there. Row 10, these are 2 GT3 cars. EB Motors second in that field with Venerossi to start, and it's Manuela Gosner to start the number 83 car for Kessel. The 11th row, AF Corsa's Ferrari alongside a Spirit of Race Ferrari with Swiss Christoph Ulrich to start that car. Another Kessel racing machine, number 77. We've got 4 of those.
1
Believe it or not,
minute
this weekend.
on the grid.
Schiavone,
Start your engines.
and then in the other Kessel racing car is John Hartzell.
We are under 1 minute to start the first of 2 formation laps.
And Fabian Laverne's car, CD Sport machine, as we said, fastest in the session yesterday, but post-session checks unearthed an issue with the splitter, and as a result it was outside the regulations and the car's been put to the back of the field.
It's not at the back of the grid, so is he starting the car from the pit lane?
Okay.
I couldn't see it. I just saw the back of 2 Ferraris.
Well, it may have been put to the thing is, it's
30
not
seconds
a split grid.
sound.
No,
Well, shouldn't be.
15 seconds to start the formation lap.
it may be that we just missed the long shot.
Well, there's the Ferrari with the brilliant livery it's carrying for the first time this weekend.
Coming back,
And we're
back,
zooming
coming
out.
back, and
There are many Ferraris. Didn't quite get there, unfortunately. Well,
away we go.
Green flag, start of the first formation
Jens
lap.
Pettersson
Green flag,
can't get
start of
away,
the first
and
formation
everyone
lap.
else is going to obviously have to go past him. Now, Jens
The car
Pettersson
stalled on the grid.
is
We have a
desperately
car
trying to get
stalled
this
on
car
the grid. Be
restarted.
advised, we have a car stalled on the grid.
If he can't get it
Now he
restarted
goes.
before the final
Now
car,
he goes. Now he
okay,
goes.
that's all right. I was about to say, if he can't get it started before the final
The
car
car
heads
which
by,
was stalled on the grid may take its position.
Yeah.
The car that's stalled on the grid may occupy its position.
And that's only
I do remind
because-
you we will have 2 formation laps. Leading car instructed to go fast so that you can get tire temperature. Leading car instructed to go fast so that you can get good tire and brake temperature. The car which stalled on the grid may take its position.
it's his birthday yesterday,
It
so
was.
I'm allowing him to, steal the show.
Absolutely.
effectively.
I think we should just move on and let
Can we just sit here and watch the
brilliant.
race?
He'd be brilliant.
Yeah, so Jens Pettersson, had he not been able to get the car started and everybody had gone by him, then he would have had to start at the back of the grid, is my understanding. But now
Here he comes.
everybody in front is going to have to be aware that he'll want to get by here. And of course, they are weaving left to right. They'll need to be keeping an eye on the mirrors, though. We don't want any contact on either of these 2 green flag laps. Now, is the CD Sport car in position? There's the 88 EB Motors Porsche. Oh, and the 83 Ferrari of Manuela Gosner has spun on this first green flag lap as well.
Turn 5.
Turn 5 it may well be. It hasn't yet,
No,
the
it's
83
not.
car.
It's between 5 and 6, but it is the exit of 5, which caused troubles yesterday, didn't it?
Yeah, well, that's not where the car stopped. It's just that it hasn't reached the end of the first sector on our little track map. So it's somewhere within that. I think turn 5
think
is
it is turn 5. I think I
bang
saw
on.
this yesterday. That tracker, we're watching a tracker screen here. The tracker, little bit misleading. I think it's just on the exit of turn 5. She's
Yes.
not been able to start that car, I'm afraid.
no. So therefore, Manuela Gosner is now at the back of the field, and if she can get that car restarted, it have to be at the back of the grid, I assume. There's the points as they sit then leading into this final race of the year. Manuela Gosner doing a 4 or 5 point turn and is now facing in the right direction. But Kessel Racing Championship sealed. 113 points will see them on the grid for the 2019 Le Mans 24 hours. Everyone else dicing then for second in the championship. Jens Pettersson is now in his rightful place. So running now second on the road and desperately trying to get some heat into particularly those front Michelin tyres.
I'm sure calming his heart rate just a little as well. That would have been an anxious moment for Jens. Yes, championship in the bag, but you don't want to be sitting still on a grid like this, particularly not with a great big crest in the middle of it.
Indeed. Another spinner further back. Is that the
Mikey
Lannon
Benham.
car?
That's
Yes,
Mikey
it is.
Benham.
Well, we said that the grip levels were at a premium here because of the overnight rain, and from where should Mikey be starting? 7th place. His Norma now rotates and ends up partly up the bank.
He's got it back, and he's actually rejoined just in front of the Kessel Racing car.
Okay.
Should be allowed to take his place back up, and indeed is doing exactly that. Watch the wet patch.
Well, thank goodness. Ooh, thank goodness there is another green flag lap then in order for these.
Clock has started, of course, as we
Yes.
said it would. 10 degrees in the air, and it feels it. 15 degrees track temperature, 62% chance of rain, it says. It doesn't look like it in the air now. You can see beautifully clear blue skies all around. But we have had mixed conditions throughout the weekend. Well, I say mixed, I mean glorious sunshine with, well, pretty high winds at times. But then on Friday, Johnny, an absolute biblical downpour for most of the afternoon. And with a thunderstorm that just wouldn't quit.
No, that's right, and it just found its way above the track and just wouldn't go anywhere else, basically. We are on higher ground, so it tends to be where the low cloud, or sometimes high cloud, I suppose, but hovers over the circuit and is a real nuisance. Makes for some dramatic photographs as well. We always get fantastic sunsets here as well, which might be a feature heading into tomorrow night, when the champions are crowned in the European Le Mans Series. We already had LMP2 champions, of course. It is tonight, isn't it? Yes, see, I'm in the mode. Tonight. I'm in the mode. I'm in the mode of a normal ELMS weekend, where you get a Le Mans Cup race on a Saturday and an ELMS on a Sunday. But we've got LMP3 and GTE champions to crown tonight. It's going to be a long day, as we've already stated off air.
Absolutely. So the Kessel racing car, just see that coming through the turn there. So keep a close eye on that livery. Very neat, tidy. He's taken a bit of inspiration, I think, oddly enough, from a little car that races in the British GT Championship. Is proudly wearing the legend that they will be at the Le Mans 25 in 2019. News of another part of their programme that allows that next week. But the car bears graphics of all of the Le Mans Cup circuits in profile, and looks splendid. Great effort.
I'm looking again at our little track map with the car numbers floating around it. It's done on predicted times rather than a GPS system, but the number 30 car is at the back of the order, I notice, and sitting, well, not now stone last, because that's Manuela Gosner, who I think will be instructed to stay there because she fell entirely to the back of the field. We'll wait and see, though, exactly the order. But of course, with the race started, the timing screen is now perfect, or should be perfectly accurate. And we're nearly 3 minutes into this final event of the year. So we've had we will have had 5 regular 2-hour races, and then the almost 1-hour events during Le Mans. That's the plan for next year as well, to have one about Thursday afternoon, and certainly one on Saturday morning, the morning of the great race. That's the Road to Le Mans event, and of course up for grabs next year in the GT3 category will be a place in the 2020 24 hours of Le Mans. Kessel Racing already victorious for next year's race. Let's see what Sergio Pianazzola can do then from 14th position, with no longer a championship to worry about. They're already knocking into each other, side-to-side contact there. Now that's almost just sort of a little bit of jostling, isn't it? Like wrestlers ahead of a 2-hour event, with Tony Wells and Jens Pettersson making one another known that they are there. And the pace car is going to peel in, is it very last minute? Yes, it is. Here we go. It heads off into that damp patch. Careful that the pace car driver doesn't lose control. And now we get to something like racing speed for the final time this year in 2018. It is Michelin Le Mans Cup racing time. One of the Graf cars, the Norma, jinks out of line early doors, trying to work out how much traction there is offline. Very little, I would suggest, but Pettersson into the lead of the race, wasting no time at all there, and Tony Wells left to fight for second position. There's spinners further back, though.
That's the Kia racing car, and is avoided by the Motorsport 98 car, but one of the Graf cars also involved there. The 40 car it was, and there's been contact, so a little bit messy. I think Tony Wells, discretion the better part of valour there. Wasn't quite sure, I think, about grip levels coming through turn 1, but is now fighting away, fending off the 24 car of Antonin Borger up into, is that 4th position for the number 8 car? It is.
Yeah. Sergio Pianazzola wasting absolutely no time at all, and of course that can use its traction a little bit better in these tricky conditions. It's got more mechanical grip, whereas the LMP3s are dependent on the aero, and if you're not heading through the first sector fast enough, you're going to really struggle to get the power down. But Alex Capadia charging up the order. He's into 6th position already in car 59. Alexander West dropping down the places, but the the big losers on that lap, as we mentioned, Kia Racing, Paul Scheusner carrying damage, it looked like. The Graf car of Adrian Schiller also involved in that incident, and I think Adrian Trouillet in the number 39 car.
So Borger up into second position ahead of Wells, and now already challenging Jens Petersen. It's going to be Borger, Capadia and Van Uterk looking to get to the front here. They particularly well-rated drivers under the FI ranking system. They're going to be running a completely different tactic here. Head for the hills if they possibly can before handing over to their gentleman driver colleagues. Now we've got a lead battle crossing the line. Over the crest they go. Yellow flags are flying though, and we've got a safety car. So safety car is scrambled, and that will be for recovery of the cars in that turn 1 incident, and I'm sure clearing up what looked to be a reasonable debris field, Johnny.
Well, I think all the cars actually fled the scene at turn 1, but what we might have is some debris in the middle of the track which needs retrieving. Yeah. So actually the cars involved, and it might well have been as many as 3, all managed to escape the scene, but they are now working their way around the latter part of the lap at a reduced speed. Here's another look at it then, and just ahead at the line was Tony Wells. The formation a little bit untidy rather, behind the first 2 rows, and that was the first of the Graf cars jinking out of line down towards the first corner. And then did that Graf machine make the first right-hander? No, it spun because it was very, very wet there.
It was the Kia Racing car. The Kia Racing car took the inside line. It was wet, and when he tried to take turn 2, there was no grip. He went around, and the 40 car just T-boned him.
Yeah. But what happened to the 39 of Adrian Trouillet, who started quite a way up the order?
So we've got 2 pit stoppers, Kia Racing's 43 and the Graf car, both stopping with damage from that incident. But that was Paul Scheusner looking to take the advantage of the inside line. Couldn't do that. More or less kept his position, but the next time he tried to put any kind of lock on, the car just went around.
Trouillet started 11th and is down in 22nd, so he must have been involved in that first corner incident as well.
I wonder whether we did see one of the Graf cars run very wide in avoidance. I wonder if it was simply that, and whether or not he's had a bit of a spin as well as a result of that.
Yes.
It will be, of course, wet offline.
Yes, but Trouillet is still running, as Graham says, just the 2 stoppers so far, but the engine cover in the left section of that shot having to come off the Kia Racing machine. They're certainly treating the rear wing with not a great deal of respect as that engine cover comes off, but they built those.
There's a tough thing.
Yeah, they can certainly be clonked with the engine cover several times, and it doesn't really affect them.
Good news for the Graf Racing team. Adrian Schiller gets away, will not lose a lap. Kia Racing, well, that's looking a little less positive, isn't it?
Yeah, although just letting off a little bit of steam, maybe. The damage, though, is on maybe the right-hand sill of that car, and that'll be where the contact was made.
It could be a radiator. It could be a radiator. Radiator looks okay.
You talked about a T-bone, and it was an unavoidable accident, really, with the car broadside, and Adrian Schiller had very little choice but to plough into the side of that car.
Lap down already, and not looking good. Here we go. That's the Kia Racing car going through the wet patch.
And up to 4th place, actually.
And then it just didn't work, did it? Just having a quick look there, see what we could see from the 39 car. Did manage to get through. I wonder if it did make mild contact, though.
Well, at least one brave marshal out into the middle of the track to retrieve those bits of carbon fibre and other parts of bodywork that have been stripped from that car. The engine cover going back on again, but Kia Racing's mechanics almost look a bit resigned here to maybe retirement.
Driver is out of the car.
It was Paul Scheusner, by the way, that started the car, and that looks therefore, I'm afraid, like his teammate, Danish teammate Johan Jurkenen, will not even get to drive, and he didn't qualify the car yesterday either, so very quiet weekend for the 28-year-old Dane, sadly. Cars still working their way round behind the safety car, being instructed to bear left from turn 1 to turn 4. So
lights are still on the safety car, by the way.
Is that the debris field? Turn 1 to 4, maybe? It could very well be.
It may be that we've needed clear up as well. There might be some fluid down.
True.
That might be the reason why we've got an apparent retirement from the Kia racing car.
Yeah, dropping fluid and lifeblood in that machine. But the safety car's going to come in this lap. So lights may well have been illuminated a moment or two ago. They're out now, and the field then working its way through turn 14 along the very ridge, the top section of the circuit. Get a great view of that from the grandstand on the main straight. The cars sort of head along the horizon and then just drop away down the other side, but they're working their way through 15 in reality, and the return leg out of 15 much lower than the approach to that corner. When this is Jens Pettersson then coming through 16, a very quick right-hander at normal speed. We'll see them hopefully negotiate that corner at the required racing speed in a lap's time, but we've already got an incredible dice for third position in perfect echelon formation then. Tony Wells, Alistair McCaig and Alex Kapadia, and Kapadia trying to look for a way through in the white car rather, with the orange detailing, but he's got Sergio Pianazzola to try and get by. That's Joop van Uitert in fact, so Kapadia just in front, I should say, of Pianazzola, and there's almost contact in the braking area for turn 4. And this is the difficulty when you've got a GT3 car which relies on its grip in an entirely different area from the LMP3s. Good driving there from the young Dutchman Joop van Uitert. He's now ahead of the Ferrari.
It was a good move as well from Alex Kapadia. He too took exactly the same line as the Kia racing car did, but managed to keep it together and make the move stick at that point, although I think he's actually gone back behind, has he, Alistair McCaig? In that tussle through turn 5 and 6.
Yeah, that might be the case. We'll get it confirmed at the end of the second sector. Jens Pettersson enjoying for the moment a 1 second advantage, but Antonin Borger is coming along with Tony Wells, Alex Kapadia and Alistair McCaig. That's your top 5, with Sergio Pianazzola leading the GT3 class, and he has 7 cars now in the LMP3 category between him and the second placed GT car of Pier Giuseppe Perezzini.
Manuela Gosner, by the way, has made up 2 places from the rather delayed start she had after that spin on the formation lap. So she's already got by a couple of her Castle Racing teammates up into 5th position. And into racing here, Dylan Borger looking for an opportunity to pass the champion.
Very good. This is a very good run out of 15 and 16, and now right underneath the gearbox, still damp even on the racing line there. There was a big burst of spray. As for third position, a change as well. That's Alex Kapadia getting by Tony Wells, and it's side by side for the lead of the race. Maybe a little bit of contact as well, more jostling for position, but Antonin Borger for Cool Racing will escape turn 4 now with the race lead.
And as in the background there, Joop van Uitert also making his way past Tony Wells, so it's the Curie-Cos pair battling with the ORR pair, new leader, all in the last 2 corners. Great stuff.
Charging their way down to turn number 6 then. Oh, and a car off the road. That is the DB Autosport machine of Nicolas Schatz, rejoining just in front of Sergio Pianazzola. And that could have been a lot worse, actually, the incident, in terms of a delay. But Schatz now back on the road.
Oh, he's very lucky that they didn't catch the Curie-Cos car. Just got it wrong on the braking there, didn't he?
Yeah, very nearly ploughing into the rear of Alistair McCaig. And McCaig will have not known anything about that, but disaster averted. Some good avoidance driving from the Frenchman. Meanwhile, in GT3, the 4th placed car is the EB Motors Porsche now, number 88. So that was started by Paolo Venerossi, shares that car with Alessandro Baccani. They're both bronze-graded drivers by the FIA, and they're in a Ferrari sandwich. As slipping by there is a recovering Adrien Trullier. As I said, he qualified middle order, but I think was involved with the original turn 1 incident.
I think that's right. I think you took avoiding action. It may well have actually had a bit of a moment out of shot from us.
Yeah, well, up to 19th position now will be Adrien Trullier, and 16th in class.
New 3rd place car. Joop van Uitert has gone by teammate Alex Kapadia. Interesting split of strategies here between the two-car British-based teams. RLR starting with their pro drivers, the Curie-Cos Nielsen starting with their AM drivers. So van Uitert from Kapadia for 3rd now, and in 5th it's the 2 Curie-Cos cars, Wells and McCaig. Target for all of them is that lead battle between Borger, now 3 seconds clear of Jens Pettersson.
Down the hill comes the second place fire. Oh, there's contact at turn 6, and that was Joop van Uite going for the dive up the inside of Jens Pettersson, but Pettersson losing it on the brakes, and the half spin resulted in contact to the side of Joop van Uite's car. Let's hope that doesn't affect, again, something like a radiator. Time will tell, but Jens Pettersson is carrying damage on that front left splitter now, one of the dive planes well askew. And he now has Alex Kapadia all over the back of him. This is for 3rd and 4th positions, with the second of the RLR M Sport cars now getting by. Jens Pettersson, I don't think very happy now with the behaviour of his car after that contact. And there's yellow flags at turn 5 because of a separate incident, because the contact that I've just spoken about happened at 6. So presumably a spinner at 5, maybe into the gravel trap. And let's just have a look again. Jens Pettersson losing it all on his own for my money, Greg.
Yeah, I think so. He went way too wide, left the door wide open, and I think he just tried to carry too much speed into the turn, could not gather it up, and lost the front end of the car, really.
Yes, under braking. The yellow flags actually turn 6, I beg your pardon.
I think it's debris. I think it's debris from that shunt.
Well, that carbon tally. Meanwhile, a car locking up is Adrien Trier again. And thankfully no harm, no foul there. It wasn't a spin, it was just late on the brakes. There's another spin though down at turn 6.
That looked like Jim Maguire to me.
In car 22, which would be a good call. Yeah, Jim Maguire running in 22nd position now after that recovery. Let's hear from Charlie George though in the pit lane.
Down here at Kia Racing with Paul Scheusner. Paul, a very disappointing start to your race. I can see the cars parked here. Is that game over?
Yeah, it's game over for us. So I was approaching the first turn and took too much exit curb. There was still a bit dump there. Had too much gas, spun, and then somebody was hitting me. The car was still able to drive, but the mechanic said that the radiator is broken, so we have to retire, unfortunately. And yeah, it's really a pity.
Bad luck, sorry.
Yeah.
Paul Scheusner there. He'll get another opportunity, fingers crossed, to race with the Inter-Europol competition team in today's ELMS race. That's the benefit of being on double duty, I suppose. Having to convince the car to really turn in at 14 there. Several goes at it for Antonin Borger, so proof that even the race leader is scrabbling around for grip in certain areas of this track.
Top 3, meanwhile, Borger, van Uite, Kapadia getting away a little from Jens Pettersson. And Jens Pettersson is going to be under some pressure shortly from the Tony Wells pedal number 2, Kyrgios Nielsen, but plenty of battling up and down the order. This is the Brookspeed International car, having just ceded a position to the recovering Adrien Trier. That's 16th position, 14th in LMP3. They get themselves sorted out. We're not even 20 minutes into a 2-hour race yet. Plenty of action.
Indeed so, and bear in mind that each of you two drivers, regardless of grading of driver rating, have to do at least 55 minutes. And therefore, if you've got one driver quicker than another, and most of these teams have, then you want to put that driver in for 65 minutes and the other in for 55, and as near as you can. And there was an event, I think last time out at Spa, wasn't it, when we did an interview, Charlie did an interview with Alex Kapadia, because I thought he was going to be pretty close on the drive time, and that was him handing over to his co-driver, Alex Kapadia, and in the end, the race distance went to the required level, so that Ross Warburton did manage to tick off the minimum drive time.
Absolutely, it's not going to be Tony Wells who's going to tackle Jens Pettersson for 4th. It's going to be Nico Schatz. Because the number 21 DB Autosport cars passed both of the Nielsen, the Kyrgios cars, for 5th position, and is now goes up the inside. That damaged splitter is causing problems, isn't it, for the DKR car?
Yeah, well, you could say they're there for a reason, and it really does keep the car glued to the road. But I mean, also, there's going to be now a handling imbalance, isn't there?
Yeah.
Because the dive planes are perfectly fine on the front right, but not doing their job on the front left.
And worse than that, he's not going to have the confidence. He's not going to have the confidence. The car's going to have the bite. So
yes,
he's having to accommodate that.
Yes, certainly. There's no point in pitting, because that's just going to waste, so much time. It's just one of those issues that he's going to have to deal with and drive around, basically. And think about Leonard Hugenboom, who will take that car over at half distance, and he'll just have to work out what the car's going to do on the fly. This is why these racing drivers are otherworldly, for my money.
Positional change as Mike Benham goes up the inside of the GT leader. Remember the number 8 car in the early running here with a bit of chaos at turn 1, up as high as 4th place overall. Now dropping back as the LMP3 cars get the tyres and the brakes up to temperature. Mike Benham recovering a little from a bit of a whoopsie on one of the formation laps too. So that's the DKR car, the orange and black, behind the 2 Icuriacos Nielsen cars. And it's still Tony Wells with Alistair McCaig right at his wheel tracks. Those 3 still with a bit of an advantage ahead of the battle behind. Mike Benham leads the next train.
The other man to look out for is Fabien Laverne from the back of the grid. Only a bronze driver, but already up to 10th position.
Wow.
And now hassling Sergio Pianezzola for effectively the lead of GT3. But he's driving an LMP3, bear in mind. But that would be, if he can get ahead, then he'd have clear sight of Mikey Benham in the Lannon Racing car, number 25, and the 2 Icuriacos cars ahead of that.
Alistair McCaig looking like he wants to get by Tony Wells here. Feeling by the look of the body language of that car that he's got the quicker Ligier underneath him at the moment. Wait and see. Different liveries, but very much part of the same team. The number 3, sorry, the number 2 and the number 79. Number 3, of course, is their next target.
Yeah, so all running together, 5th, 6th and 7th places. They're about to tick off 10 laps already, and as Antonin Borger did so, he set the best final sector of anybody so far. Car number 8 is being told that it must respect the track limits at turn 5. That's the GT3 leader. Turn 5 being the very fast-ish left-hander, but often an area where drivers can make mistakes there, and there's a gravel trap ready to expose those mistakes. We've already had cars off in that kitty litter this weekend. Turn 15 is also a place where track limits are being pushed to their very edge and beyond on the exit of that right-hander.
Meanwhile, ahead of this battle, we are having fastest sectors and fastest laps traded in the battle for the lead. It's 3.5 seconds between 24 of Borger from Gudferniterts. They're fending off Alex Capadia by another 3 seconds.
Laverne is now ahead of Sergio Pianezzola, so he's got 2.3 seconds in order to catch Mikey Benham next. We'll see how he goes about that. We know the car, though, has good speed after its performance in qualifying yesterday. A 2-pronged attack here on DKR Engineering from Icuriacos. One car goes one way, the other then trying maybe an outside route around Jens Pettersson. And actually the German driver's doing a pretty good job here to fend off both the Icuriacos machines, who also are struggling for a little bit of grip, particularly in that high part of the circuit at 14. And now through 15, maybe they can get a good slingshot run on Jens Pettersson's car, which is not as good as it was as it started the race, carrying that damage after a skirmish at 6. I think
Pettersson now, though, is in a bit more of the zone where he knows where he can trust the Norma. Looks a little more confident than he did maybe 5-6 minutes ago, under pressure from the pro drivers. Here, though, comes Tony Wells. Is this the moment he'll take an opportunity to put the pressure on the DKR man? Not close enough to do it there. Drops back a little and into the hands of a waiting Alistair McCaig. A pendular progress for the moment for Tony Wells. Alistair McCaig, I think, would take the opportunity that was offered to go by here.
Yes, but they don't want to trip over each other, obviously, and now there may be another incident later on in the lap at turn 15. Yellow flag indicated just above the time there in the centre of the screen. And
no car stationary at the moment, but
no.
We'll keep an eye on that.
Well, 51 hasn't yet reached the end of... Oh, no, it has now. So heading over the timing line is car 51. So it all looks to be well for Christoph Ulrich in the 5th placed GT3 car. GT3 still led by the number 8 Kessel Racing car, championship winners. Oh, a car that's taken quite a long time to get through
Ulrich.
that. Yeah.
I think he's had a spin. That's what the yellow flag will have been in the final sector.
Yeah, because the yellow flag has now been taken in. And the leaders are heading through that scene now. About to have to deal with traffic, by the way, because Adrian Schiller, for whatever reason, is struggling at the back. Well, he's carrying damage as well, isn't he, potentially, after that turn 1 incident. Busy down at 6 as Manuela Gosner tries to pick her way by the EB Motors Porsche of Paolo Venerossi and gets the move done. Great little move out of 6, but now he's going to be potentially balked by the LMP3 car. No, that's all fine, and turns right at 8. sets the car up for turn 9, and that will be 4th place. And it's been ahead of him.
That's Jim Maguire again, I'm afraid. As the two GT cars sorted out, Jim Maguire probably with his mirrors full of GT car. I think it hit a bit of a wet patch again. What round it goes, I think he'll recover it from there, though.
Here comes Tony Wells. Another big look at this position, which is 5th place in the LMP3 category. Put the element of doubt in the head of Jens Pedersen a lap ago, and Tony Wells darts to the inside into turn 1. Still can't make it stick, though, and now he's going to be on the back foot through these corners, with Alistair McCaig also wanting to get past.
But all of this is allowing Benham to catch them and Laverne to catch all of them.
Yes.
This time he makes it stick up the inside this time into turn 6. Makes that, has he got the grunt to get up the hill ahead of the DKR car? He does. Now over to you, Alistair McCaig, passing the baton to see whether or not there's an opportunity for the second Career Cost car to make good its escape.
Different chassis racing each other, remember. That's a Ligier overtaking a Norma, but they have the same spec engine strapped into the middle, the 5-litre Nissan V8. And therefore, it was Tony Wells just getting the pedal down a little quicker than Jens Pedersen, and Pedersen's car probably not travelling through the air quite as well as Tony's. There's a black and white flag for car 25 now.
That's Mike Benham gets that's track limits at turn 5, so taking a few liberties. You have been noticed.
Yes, and that will be after probably a few repeat offences, and from this point on, the regulations get slightly more restrictive for Mikey Benham. He'll have to tidy those lines up again for fear of getting more penalties, or a penalty.
That was Nige Hussain up the inside of a newcomer to the Michelin Le Mans Cup, Alexander West, Swedish driver. And he's very welcome. He's aboard the number 65 Graf racing car at the moment, prepping for an LMP2 campaign in Asia over the winter.
McCaig is now past Pedersen as well, and here comes Mikey Benham to do likewise at turn number 1. So unfortunately, Pedersen held firm in 5th position for a long time, but he's now lost 3 places.
About to be 4.
That's Fabien Laverne from the back of the field, remember, in the multicoloured CD Sport car. And that car, we know, is quick. It was picked up with an issue with the splitter after qualifying. That would have been rectified now, and the car is wasting no time at all. Coming through the order, Jens Pedersen's not going to defend that too heavily.
That's a corner he is really struggling with. Whatever the imbalance he's got on that left-hand corner, that's causing him real problems. He's taking a wider line every time, and it's leaving the door wide open.
Well, there was drama in the Spa race for Jens Pedersen. There were a couple of whoopsies in that, but they ended up getting enough of a result to seal the championship. But imagine if the championship had run on into this weekend and they'd been desperate for points here, because he's already fallen down to 8th position. Thankfully for DKR Engineering there and the team from Luxembourg, everything is already in the bag and they can enjoy this race for what it is, but struggling at the moment to do that. Leonard Hugenboom still to come, remember.
So we're not even a quarter of the way through this. There's been no shortage of action. Lots of passing for position, significant position at that. Just to bring you up to date with the lead battle, it's still 3.5 seconds. And it seemed to be one of those battles where, well, Johan van Utet pops in her fastest sector 1. And as round goes Eric de Donker, I think that is, isn't it?
Yes, it is, in car 98.
Antonin Borger pops in fastest sector 2, and he's gone round again in trying to recover. Away he gets. But that's dropped 2 or 3 places back to the 98 car.
Yeah, that car was in 14th position and trying to get by Alex West and Nige Hussain as well. They were at close quarters. Unfortunately, all that hard work done by the Belgian is going to have to be done again now. Eric de Donker sharing this weekend with Dino Lunardi, as he has done, I think, for the whole of the season.
No, it was Andy Merrick to start with.
That was at this season?
It was this season, I think it was.
OK. He might have done 1 race with Andy, but I think the partnership with Dino's certainly been for the last few. Go check the records, Johnny. I can't actually remember. It's been a long old season. Anyway, the battle between 2 and 79 is an inter-team scrap, and that's Tony Wells and Alistair McCaig, now up to 5th and 6th places, and ultimately trying to hunt down Nicolas Schatz in the number 21 car, the DB Autosport machine, which has had a good start. Schatz nearly running into the back of Alistair McCaig, you may remember, but since that slight error, I mean, Schatz now going quicker through the first sector than anybody else, so that car is clearly showing good speed. The problem is the 3 chaps ahead are very fast indeed, being the non-bronzes, if you like, Antonin Borger, Joop van Uitert and Alex Kapadia.
A quick look again at Eric de Donker's miscalculation, trying to go up the inside of Alexander West. No grip was there. And around this time is the number 77 car. Black and white flag, meanwhile, for overtaking and contact on the number 3 car for the 79. So Alistair McCaig is getting a black and white flag for contact.
Andy Merrick did do one race, you're right, Graham, this year. That was the start of the season at Paul Ricard. And it's been Lunardi ever since. That was a rotation for the 77. And Schiavone left in the middle of the track. So much good avoidance driving here because of this race being packed full of incident. We suggested it might be. With the grip levels, you know, very difficult to predict. Theoretically, much of that water should be now disappearing because we've got cars out on track and, what, 24 of them pounding round, but only on the racing line. And if you are side by side with somebody else, that's where the unpredictable nature comes in.
Top 3 beginning to compress that gap. It is still about 3.5 seconds the lead, but being caught now by Alex Kapadia, the 2 leading cars. Nico Schatz, have been catching them rapidly. That kind of charge is rather stalled, but behind them we've now got a good 4-car battle for 5th between the 2 Courier Cross cars, the Lanham Racing car and the CD Sport car.
Joop van Uitert looked very wide indeed, coming out of 12 there, and got the car fully on the curb. An indication of how hard Joop is pushing. 3.7 seconds is the gap.
Going to be a change here. Mike Benham left the door open with the CD Sport car. He's got the position for the next turn and is robust in defence of that.
Fabien Laverne trying to get by. Meanwhile,
that was a bit of
almost contact between the 2 teammates.
Indeed.
So 4 cars absolutely together. 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th on the road this is. Tony Wells just ahead of his teammate. And there's now going to be a 10-second penalty added to the 25 car because of this track limit abuse. So Mikey Benham, we said about the black and white flag being waved. Well, that's the first penalty step. But the 10 seconds will be added to the pit stop for car 25.
He's going to need then to make amends for that. And he's looking to do that by getting onto terms with Alistair McCaig. Here are the 2 RLR cars. This is the battle for 2nd position, and this is Alex Kapadia, having been dropped a little by Joop van Uitert, has been reeled back in.
Yes, so the Brit tailing the Dutchman at the moment, and Joop van Uitert will be handing over at half distance to John Ferrano, Alex Kapadia to Ross Warburton. It's always fun to watch the silver-graded drivers in the car for the first stint in this Michelin Le Mans Cup event.
We've got here is the lead car. This is the 24 of Antonin Borger with a lapped car. Jim Maguire between him and the battling RLR pair.
Jim with a couple of spins, so that's the reason why he has lost some ground. Inside the final 90 minutes now, and pit stops to look forward to in just over 20 minutes' time. Obviously, for Joop van Uitert, Alex Kapadia and the race leader Antonin Borger, they'll be pushing the envelope a little bit beyond that, beyond the hour mark, to then hand over to their bronze teammates. Through the left-hander at turn 13 goes the fight then for 5th position. Still in the same order, Tony Wells, Alistair McCaig, Mikey Benham and Fabien Laverne.
There is some damage on the right-hand side of Joop van Uitert's car. There's something flapping about there as they now look to deal with Jim Maguire. If we're going to look at that, there's something just behind the front wheel flapping about on the left-hand side. I'm wondering if that's part of the reason. There you go, you can see it clearly there. Piece of bodywork, I think. And this will have been after the contact earlier from Jens Pedersen. Almost like a barge board effort there, isn't there? If that's actually causing a problem for him, or even just distracting him.
Alex Kapadia came very close to piling in the back of Jim Maguire then as well. Maybe didn't expect the American to brake quite as early as he did into turn 6. So that's driven a wedge again between the 2 RLR M Sport cars.
And these 4, having come together for 5th position, now seem to be reasonably static in terms of gap for the moment. Maybe gathering their thoughts, looking for where the vulnerabilities might be. Not there.
No. But Mikey Benham leaving his braking to the last possible opportunity. The car looking a little unstable under braking. I thought that might spell an opportunity for Laverne. But you have to be fully committed for an overtake at turn 6. He wasn't quite close enough. These cars are ahead of Jens Pettersson, who's sadly going the wrong way now, 11 seconds adrift of this quartet. And Sergio Pianazzola still easily leading the GT3 category, 10th place overall. And here right on cue is the Pianazzola Kessel Racing Ferrari. Big wiggle at turning point there.
Pushing.
Yeah, there's certainly indication of it.
Still in 10th position overall. This is some fine run here. Bear in mind, this is not the pro-rated driver in this car.
No, certainly not.
They get a better look there at that livery, the silhouettes of the Le Mans Cup circuits, celebrating this title win, and indeed the opportunity to compete for Kessel Racing for the first time under their own name at the Le Mans 24 Hours next year.
No Silverstone on there, of course, because we didn't go to Silverstone with the Michelin Le Mans Cup, but there'll be Le Mans on there, and then the other 2-hour race places as well. So Ricard Monza, Red Bull Ring, Spa, and here at Portimão. Mikey Benham getting a great run on the 79 car and had to drive off the road there because the run was so good he couldn't find the opportunity to go 2 abreast within the 2 white lines. That one again possibly not going in his favour as far as track limits are concerned, but Benham got a cracking run on the 79 car of Alistair McCaig, just couldn't find a way past. And as a result, McCaig is now a little distant from his teammate Tony Wales. 3 cars scrapping for 6th, 7th and 8th places exiting turn 6. A tricky corner, it's downhill on the approach, and then you've got to get good drive out because it's very much uphill towards 7 and 8.
Oh, and way off for the 51 car. That's Christoph Ulrich, isn't it?
Yeah.
So a second issue, and that was a tussle with, oh dear me, that looked like a DP car.
Could well have been, and falling off the road at turn 12. And you do well to hang on to the car even when you're on the asphalt there, but when you're in the gravel track, the front wheels of that Ferrari well and truly off the road, off the ground.
That wouldn't have been comfortable, would it?
Certainly not, landing back in the gravel bed.
Let's hope there's no further damage for the 51.
An hour and 23 to go. DB Autosport car over the line, and that car is 4th then, and being just overtaking a slower machine.
Jim Maguire,
number 22. So Nicolas Schatz in 4th position and well clear of anybody behind, and actually can't at the moment touch the pace of the 3 in front either. Borger enjoying a 3.5 second lead over Joop van Uitert and Alex Kapadia.
Mike Benham makes it by Alistair McCaig, but seeing another 10-second penalty now. Unless that's a repeat of the first one, but I think that's a second 10-second penalty for abusing track limits. Mike Benham's going to have to be really careful here.
Yes. Well, as I say, he ran off the road at turn 1, almost in avoidance of Alistair McCaig, because he got a much better run through 1 and 2, but then couldn't get up alongside Alistair McCaig, so chose to run off the road instead.
That's an expensive passing manoeuvre, I'm afraid, for Mike Benham. It's the a couple of tenths ahead of Alistair McCaig is going to be translated to something close to 20 seconds behind after the pit stop.
Yeah, and then it'll fall to Duncan Tappy, Mikey's teammate, to try and recover that situation, which he will relish. But 20 seconds to catch up is a big ask. Up the hill towards 11 and 12.
Traffic ahead.
And yeah, one of them is a Kessel Racing Ferrari.
Yeah.
Certainly the right colour for 77, so if it is, then that'd be Claudio Schiavone running in 6th place ahead of John Hartshorn in the other Kessel Racing Ferrari, of which there are 4 this weekend.
Yeah, Tony Wills couldn't make that stick. That's given Mike Benham an opportunity to get right behind the number 2 car. And there could be another positional change here to come, but Mike Benham goes wide again.
Thundering their way through 15 and now 16. A huge wiggle for the 25 car, just losing grip there behind another LMP3 car.
It was the two. It was just too aggressive for Mike Benham. Tried to carry that speed, couldn't, and just ran out of space and grip. Meantime, up the inside, and it might well be a double overtake manoeuvre. It is brilliant stuff from Fabien Laverne.
Yeah,
and he takes both of the Kyrgios-Nielsen cars in the same manoeuvre. With the look up the inside, risks the wetter line into turn 1, makes it stick. He now runs in 5th position.
Out of 5 comes Mikey Benham. Let's have a look at his moment then. Was it because he was tucked in behind? No.
Got too close. Got too close.
But also he was about a car width off the apex of the corner as well. So I wonder whether grip was a problem too. Yeah, getting too close, it means the airflow over your car is by no means perfect, and he just didn't have the front end grip. He's still going to go try 2 abreast here with Alistair McCaig though. And
does it.
Gets the moves stuck.
I think he's quite cross.
I think he's just enjoying himself in his final event of the year. And whether the team have communicated to him that it could be as much as 20 seconds now he's got to soak up, or whether they're just letting him crack on with it, I don't know. But
if I were them, I wouldn't at this point.
No, maybe not approach the subject until a week's time. Down the hill anyway, it's great to watch. And the car that looks very much like a Toyota from LMP1, almost as if that paint scheme is deliberate. The car comes out at turn 14.
Fastest lap of the race, meanwhile, just gone to Alex Capaldi. It's 1:42.470. He's not given this up. He's 5 seconds back from the leader, but he's still right with Joep van Uitert. And that is a bit of a battle between the teammates. And that'll mean something to Alex today.
Certainly, yeah. 0.8 of a second between Joep van Uitert and Alex. And they are trying to reel in Antonin Borger, but Borger's doing a really good stint and actually has opened up the gap further by 0.4 of a second. It's nearly 4 seconds on this lap 22. An hour and 19 minutes to go, but much less than that to the first stop. But Antonin Borger, Joep van Uitert, Alex Capaldi were expecting those 3 drivers to stay at the wheel for a little bit longer. Nicolas Schatz maybe likewise. Schatz is the silver after all. Got Jacques Wolf to come in the best placed Norma. And Fabien Laverne up to 5th place now.
Yeah, Nico Schatz did look as if he might actually be somebody to challenge that lead 3 at one point, but has dropped back a little. He's not managed to match the pace of the trio ahead. Meantime, we're watching here. This is Alexander West and Eric de Donker. This is a battle for 13th position, 12th in class. Battle's a battle, though.
Down
another Norma versus Ligier battle, too.
Down that reasonably longish straight between 5 and 6. You certainly need to get good power and straight line speed out of 5, and that's the reason why so many drivers have been risking the lap potentially out of 5 in qualifying. A number of spinners into the gravel trap there, which brought out session stoppages. And avoid the curb at the right-hander at 9. There's a very large sausage curb there, which unsettles the car. Through 10, which is full commitment, down into a bowl and back up the other side, and then around 11 and 12. Great circuit this, a really nice venue to end the season at as well. I'm delighted to see on the 2019 calendar we're coming back here. There's also a round not very far away from here in Barcelona. Well, it's a fair distance to be honest, but in a neighbouring country. And there are some Spanish outfits that I'm sure delighted that's been added to the calendar too.
That's right. It's great to hear, by the way, the driver's briefing for the Le Mans Cup. Eduardo Freitas describing, in his own words, this circuit, the joy actually of you will enjoy that corner. Oh, this bit's thrilling. It's, you know, it's not the kind of language perhaps sometimes you expect to hear from a race official, but it's very clear that proudly Portuguese Eduardo loves the Algarve International Circuit, as I think most of these guys do too. It is a fabulous place to come racing. Ferrari on Ferrari action here. This is the battle for 5th position in GT3. The 51 Spirit of Race car. Christoph Ulrich, he's had a bit of a spin. He had that wild moment across the gravel. Is now under pressure from Claudio Schiavone, who himself has had a rotational woe.
Yeah, but again, a learning process for many of these drivers.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure many of them will be planning a second season or indeed a third in the Michelin GT3 division, or the LMP3 as well. And it'd be nice to see some more GT3 cars, certainly, in 2019, and maybe a little bit more variation as well. The majority of the cars are Ferraris in this event, with just the one Porsche from Italian outfit EB Motors.
Well, here's one of the points that's often raised. There's, of course, an auto entry in GT3, not for LMP3. There's a positional change there. The Graf car up the inside and ahead of the United Autosports Ligier. It has been a success for the ladder system. Year 1, TF Sport winning the what was then an all GT3 encounter, stepping up to GTE, earning a auto entry for Le Mans the second year, with second place in the ELMS, and now a full-fledged WEC team. Year 2 with EB Motors and their Lamborghini winning the title. They're now a full ELMS entry with a Porsche, and Castle Racing making it clear that they've got plans to step up too. So, you know, it has been a success in terms of what it's there to do. The numbers may not have always been that impressive, but in terms of building a customer base in the higher level championships, it's been effective.
Yes, and you can plot the line, you can plot the process for those teams. You know, there is clearly an end goal, which is to be at Le Mans and ideally part of the ELMS, maybe even World Endurance Championship in due course too. And it might all spring from the acorn laid in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. So, yeah, I understand the reasoning for it. The GT3 element of it always generates great racing though as well, and 7 cars is a good number, but we get a lot more during the Road to Le Mans event, and that's treated as sort of a one-off event basically in those 2 races.
And even that has had a positive effect. Remember, Mike Benham and Duncan Tappy's first introduction to this championship was with the Le Mans races in a McLaren GT3 car. Now here they are back as full season entrants in LMP3, and every chance we'll see them back again for a second crack at it.
Lap 25 now, and the lead is 1.4 seconds.
That's come over the last 2 or 3 laps, and that's come courtesy of an improvement in pace from Van Utet. He's also managed to just edge away a little from Alex Capaldi, 3.3 seconds a gap, but still 5 seconds between the 3 of them.
Yes. Yeah, not too much real estate at all, but 3.9 seconds was the gap, Borger back to Joop van Uterud. I suppose, Dan, that Joop has dropped Alex to an extent. He's been able to concentrate on the road in front rather than the road in front and behind. And that focus then trying to reel in Antonin Borger seems to be paying dividends now. Not quite in touching distance and not quite in the toe, but in a few more laps that will be the case.
We're then going to get the baton passed, of course, the gentleman driver part of the equation. And the whole idea of this split strategy, putting the pros in first, is to give them a gap to defend.
Fabien Laverne, very impressive from the back of the field, now up to 5th spot in the CD Sport Car. And Fabien is the bronze, remember. Laurence Heur, silver, 21-year-old German, still to come in that car. Some overlapping up the hill towards turn 14. That was an LMP3 car getting by Paolo Venerossi in the only Porsche in the event.
And Trullier, meanwhile, now looking to deal with Jens Pettersen, who's dropped all the way back to 9th position now. The damage suffered. So indeed drops to 10th. Trullier through. Deals with the lapped 51 car without any drama whatsoever. So Graf number 59 car up to 9th position.
Eric de Donker, 39 car, yes, up to 10th. Well, there was still a bit of mystery around Adrien Trullier's travails, but all stemming from that first corner incident. And ever since then, it's been a recovery drive for Trullier Jr. He'll be handing over to his dad for the second part of this race. The other car that's having to do some recovery work now, Eric de Donker, after an earlier spin. Car 98 is ahead of Alexander West. Still getting more used to that Norma M30 prepared by Graf, car 65. So Alex the Swede is 40th. He's ahead of Richard Mines for United. Was there a change here?
Yep, that's Mike Benham going up the inside of Tony Wells. And Wells, sort of deja vu moment, now under pressure from Alistair McCaig again. This time though, it's for 7th position with the Lannon car and the CD Sport car having made their way by the rolling roadblock for Normas that has been the 2 very effectively pedalled the Courier-Cost-Nielsen cars. McCaig looking again.
Yeah, McCaig trying to get by Tony Wells for 7th position this time.
Wells, of course, the other 2018 UK LMP3 champion, together with Colin Noble. Another Courier-Cost-Nielsen efforts. Little lock-up, by the way, as he mounts up the inside of the lap Ferrari. Getting McCaig all over him. And now we've got half a second in the lead battle. Joop van Uitert is 0.541 of a second back from Borger, and that is coming with good pace from the RLR man.
Yeah, good consistency as well, which maybe hasn't been offered by Antonin Borger over the last few laps. A little bit of indecision there, maybe from Antonin Borger as to which side of the United Autosports car to go at turn 12. So that's probably brought the gap down by a smidge again. 0.6 of a second it was at the end of sector 2. And very late on the brakes there was Joop van Uitert. So there's an idea of how hard he is pushing to bring that gap down.
Almost reversed it in there, didn't he?
Yeah, something we like to see. So over the timing line they're about to go. This will put 27 laps in the book then, and we are now just 4.5 minutes away from the pit lane window effectively opening. Much more flapping now, I would say, from Joop van Uitert, or is it about what it's been doing?
About the same, 9/10 of a second across the line, with behind them 4 seconds further back is Alex Kapadia. So it's still 5 seconds through the 3, but the mover has been Joop van Uitert closing the gap to the lead. Bet against him, actually finishing his stint from the top of the timing screens.
Overlapping at turn 6, that's a Graf car overtaking one of the Kessel Racing Ferraris. They'll have to be mindful that the leaders will want to get by pretty soon as well.
It is indeed the barge board, by the way, that's been broken at the bottom end.
On the Joop van Uitert car.
That would have been from that clash with the DKR car at turn 6.
So through 8 and 9, 9 much tighter right-hander, and then through 10 and 11 with grandstands at the top of the hill there for a great view across the whole of the circuit. Oh, way off the racing line there was Antonin Borger. That might be with an eye to stick a lap on this Ferrari. Make sure it's off the racing line, which it can do now.
He's off the track.
He's off the track. That's surely Joop van Uitert's opportunity. Antonin Borger going completely the wrong side of a Ferrari. He'll rejoin in second position, but Joop van Uitert thought, well, can it be as easy as this? Yes, it really can.
He's only managed to keep second because Alex Kapadia has been delayed behind a lap car. Otherwise, he'd have lost 1 and 2 there. That was a miscalculation from the leader. Looked to position himself favourably to get by the Ferrari and defend from Joop van Uitert, but was in completely the wrong part of the track.
Well, I thought it was a strange line, I have to admit, into 12, and then just got more bizarre into 14, but he was forced to make a decision, basically, to go up the inside of the outside of the Ferrari, and it's sort of diminishing returns, really.
That was an odd decision to go wide.
And the problem is, once you're off the track to drivers right there, it is very much off camber and the road drops away.
It's a bank turn there.
Yeah, thankfully not into a gravel trap, so at least there was some grasscrete there in order for Antonin Borger to recover the moment, but lost a load of time, and Joop van Uitert took the perfect racing line. The Ferrari, in fairness, was doing a good job of staying off the racing line. But one LMP3 car one side, Antonin Borger, and Joop van Uitert up the inside of the Ferrari to take the race lead. So change of lead for the first time in the best part of an hour, and Joop van Uitert then now 2.3 clear of Antonin Borger. Alex Kapadia a further 3.2 seconds back, and Nicolas Schatz further down the road for DB Autosport. 3 Ligiers and then 3 Normas, because Fabien Laverne from the back of the field and Mikey Benham running 5th and 6th. But bear in mind, Benham is going to have a significant penalty to soak up when he visits the pit lane.
Yep, we've still got, by the way, 13 cars on this lead lap after 54 minutes of racing, and 54 minutes of racing with 3 very quick guys at the front of it as well. Joop van Uitert appears to have pressed escape mode, and another bit of a fishtail this time for Alistair McKay. Keeps it nicely under control though, and will give himself a good run up the hill in his continuing quest to see the front end in his mirrors of Tony Wells. Not something he's managed so far in the race. It's been just an almost nose to tail throughout between the 2 Ecurie Cos guys.
Yes, it has, and sometimes it's been for 5th position, sometimes 6th, now it's for 7th. They were higher up the order, of course, having started 2nd and 3rd places. Well, the 1st and 3rd it was, wasn't it, with Tony Wells from pole position, inheriting that pole after Fabien Laverne's car was put to the back of the order. Laverne charging on into 5th position now, and he has his silver-rated teammate still to come, Laurence Heur. Let's see where the number 30 car ends up. Maybe the podium. Out of 15 comes a 4-way dice. One of these cars, at least one of these cars, is not on the lead lap though, or maybe they all are.
No, that is a Graf car, I think, ahead.
That they are catching, yeah. So the Graf car is about to go a lap down to Mikey Benham, who is 6th, Tony Wells 7th, and Alistair McCaig in 8th position. It's the 40 car.
It is.
So that is Adrian Schiller.
Has not made that much ground up, Adrian, has he?
No. Well, again, that might be front splitter problems, not giving the car the downforce it requires. Can't see damage
it looks
okay
from here, whether or not there's something that's taken the edge off. But he's got between, just for short moments at least, the Acura Cost car, that gives Tony Wells a little bit of respite from the snapping Westie Terrier that is Alistair McCaig.
Well, we've already got pit lane visitors because we've reached that magic 55-minute marker. So cars coming in include the DKR Engineering Championship winners, but Jens Pettersson, sadly his car too badly damaged to be at the races now this afternoon. Jens is going to get out and Leonard Hugenboom will take that car over. Likewise, the 32 United Autosports car is already in. Motorsport 98 LMP3 car along with the 65 Graf and the 23 United Autosports car. Neither of the two GT3 leaders, though, have chosen to pit quite yet.
Antonin Borger there, now a spirited run back towards Joop van Uitert up the inside of the GT leader, then a big lock-up, having used all the available space and possibly just a little bit more. But he's just a second behind the leader now, so he's recovered his momentum. Alex Kapadia still 3.3 seconds behind him, lapping at around the same pace.
Manuela Gosner brings her Ferrari in and is about to hand over to Giorgio Sernagiotto, who is a regular driver in the Cetolavi Lorba Corsa team, of course, in LMP2 these days in the ELMS.
There is the 83 car. One mistake from Manuela Gosner, but other than that, a very, very solid first effort in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Here comes the 30.
Yeah, up on the dollies briefly there to get it straightened up because it came in with a car already in the pit stop, or already in the pit box just prior to it.
Second batch of cars to stop are all the cars from 6th through to 9th. It's CD Sport, both the Acura Cost Nielsen cars and the 39 Graf.
Alex Kapadia looked to be a little bit off the road coming out of 16 that time around as well. That was in avoidance of a Ferrari, but needs to be careful as far as the track limits are concerned there. It's Alex still with the fastest lap of the race, by the way, set on lap 21, which was a 1:42.4.
Battle for the lead. It's almost nose to tail now. That is likely to allow Kapadia to get a little bit closer. Top 6 still 2 pits. 6th place car on rotation now. Climbing up the order as some of the LMP3 cars stop, and there's a change of the lead. It's going to be mighty close because that was Joop van Uitert going very wide. Has the line, has he got the pace, has he got the grip?
The problem for Antonin Borger is that all these corners are right-handers.
Great stuff, great stuff from this pair.
Joop van Uitert gave Antonin Borger no space on the exit, something he's perfectly entitled to do, and therefore Borger could not make the move stick. Out of 10 they come, and Joop van Uitert is all over the road there. So look, grip seems to be at a premium now for the Dutchman.
These are quick laps though, because of course most of the field is in the pits. There's no traffic right now.
Yes, true. I just wonder whether Joop is now paying for that underfloor damage, and maybe the car isn't behaving as he is expecting. Sideways for the 77 as it left, and
that won't be.
Officials don't like that sort of thing.
Not in the crowded pit lane. Still nibbling away at the rear end of this. This is good stuff, the lead.
Absolutely. Half a car length in it. Now they're almost overlapping.
No, Van Uitert is pitting. So,
well, that's reasonably early for Joop van Uitert. And maybe there's a plan, maybe there's a strategy to get him out of trouble, realising he's probably losing time by fighting with Antonin Borger. So Borger back to the lead of the race.
Kapadia is only a second and a half back now with those two battling away.
Yeah.
So this is close too. We are 30 seconds away from a substantial proportion of the available audience realising that they've missed the first hour of the race with the clocks going back.
We've got drama here for the DKR engineering car. This should have been sent, and there is a battery pack resting on the side pod there, so maybe power issues for the number 3 car. Meanwhile, Joop van Uitert's car, this should still be in the pit lane because it's only just come in. Of the early stoppers, all have rejoined, apart from the number 3, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Kia Racing out of the race very early on, sadly. We heard from Paul Scheusner earlier with Charlie George. 3 cars remain in the pit lane. They are the 40 Adrian Schiller car, 4 cars rather. So Joop van Uitert's just come in. The 40 car from Graf, the number 3 DKR engineering car, they're nursing some drama. And then the Kessel Racing Ferrari number 50.
Finally, there was a change of position between the 2 Ikuria-Kos cars, and it comes moments after they rejoin the race, with the pro drivers now aboard. James Littlejohn ceding the position to a charging Colin Noble.
In the more white of the 2 Ikuria-Kos cars there.
Yeah, probably more recently Ikuria-Kos colours. Red River Sport colours on the other, the 2 car. John Ferrano waiting for the time to elapse for the pit stop. Team manager car 77 is Piccini is being called to race control. That will be for that rather spirited getaway, I have no doubt at all.
And the car that's tailing the 2 Ikuria-Kos machines looks to be Nicolas Schatz in the DB Autosport car. Nicolas yet to pit, and that car could be as high as 2nd position if Nicolas stays out. The danger is, if he doesn't pit on this lap, might be running out of time as far as the pit window is concerned.
So Borger in the pits for the driver change.
And Schatz has stayed out, I reckon, heading, yes, through turns 3 and 4. Bearing in mind, of course, the race distance is very likely to be just over 2 hours, and it's all about drive time, not about a set pit lane window. So even if you do pit just outside that sort of 10 minutes, between 55 and 65 minutes, might still be okay as far as the drive time is concerned. I always think it's a bit of a dangerous game to play, really, because you never know how much time is the extra at the end of the 2 hours. But Alex Capardi and Ross Warburton made it work last time out at Spa. Leonard Hugenboom is stepping out of the number 3 car, and that might be that for the championship leaders.
That's not a good way to finish a championship.
Winners, I should say, yes.
Out comes John Ferrano, having taken over the number 14 car from Joop van Uitert, brought the car in almost from the lead. Lead changing as he dipped into pit lane. So that leaves us with Alex Capardi leading, Nico Schatz in 2nd, Mike Benham in 3rd, as the only cars not yet to have stopped.
Yeah. Well, they're okay to pit on the next time around. That will be at the end of lap 34. Capardi out front from Nicolas Schatz and Mikey Benham. And despite them being championship winners, they still got very much down faces there, because they're here for the one-off races as well. You know, they want to be victorious in every single event.
You want to be thrown in the pool at the end of this one, don't you?
Of course.
The unique swimming pool in the paddock here. Yeah, that's a young man that just wants to go racing, and why shouldn't he?
Yeah.
It's a fabulous little race car. They've been very successful this year with it, and just takes the edge off as out goes the number 24 car. In comes the number 59 and the number 21. I've no doubt Mike Benham will follow in too. That's way, way wide from John Ferrano, though.
Yes, so Ferrano taking over the number 14 car.
Well, it's going to be close. The 24 car leads the race by the look of this one. Mike Benham will lead the race.
And the 24 is going slowly, I reckon.
Not very quick, is it there? No, not very quick at all.
So car 24, former race leader, now in the hands of Alexandre Coigny, who's taken over from his teammate Anthony Borger.
Very slow.
So Coigny, this is an outlap for Coigny,
yes
it is.
Yeah.
So the 2 Swiss drivers, the regular Cool Racing pilots, and Iraj Alexander back with them in the ELMS this weekend too. But this outlap should be much, much quicker for the number 24 car, which led the race on 2 separate occasions, turning left at turn 6. There is an issue there with the car maybe needing to be recycled. but at the moment Kwani's priority is just to get the car back to the team, back to the pit lane. Mikey Benham's pit stop is going to be very long indeed now, because this is where the penalties for the track limit abuse will be enforced.
Yeah, pitted from 3rd position. 24 has not picked up speed. Now being overtaken by a pair of GT cars. Now is that the 88 car? Sorry, the 8 car about to lap the 88. It must be.
That's about right, I think. Car 8 is currently negotiating lap 34, and yes, the Porsche is a lap behind that. Alessandro Baccani. So Giacomo Piccini leads GT3 in car number 8. Second is now Marco Ciocci, who's taken charge of the 71 Ferrari from Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. And third in GT3 is Giorgio Cernigiotto, the 36-year-old Italian, having taken over from Manuel Agostna in the all-red 83 Ferrari. That's the top 3 in GT3. But yes, Alessandro Baccani about to go a lap down. In fact, probably that's already happened now. Oh, no, not quite.
No, I don't think it is. I think what it was the 8 car was on its out lap. I think he's at the other end of the lap. I think that's what it is. Now, there we go. That was one of the RLR M Sport cars crossing the line.
Well, Baccani's not yet a lap down, but he's coming out of turn 5 now, and the 8 car's at turn 4. So there really isn't much of a distance between them. We haven't seen the lap take place quite yet. We're not far away from it.
The 24 car has not pitted. So is it just him being incredibly careful on cold tyres? Well, he's about to lose a place to John Ferrano. I think it's just cold tyres, Johnny.
Maybe. Well, it is very blowy out there, and I'm imagining tyre temperature will be very difficult to get, and tyre pressures quite possibly too.
So John Ferrano goes through. I think it's going to be quite tight here. Who is getting the lead of this race as Ross Warburton is on his way out of the pits?
Yeah, so race leaders rejoining. Ross Warburton and Jacques Wolf came in. Well, those cars came in as the race leaders. Let's see.
Ross Warburton is leading the race.
Yeah.
By dint of a much quicker pit stop than it was a long pit stop for the 14 car.
Well, there was a part spin there for the Ross Warburton car, number 59. Well gathered up in the end, out of turn 4, and he was able to go through 5 without too much of a delay. Ross about to come across the line then. 35 laps done. That confirms that Ross Warburton leads the race, and then where is the 21 car, which should be next across the line now?
8.3 seconds is the gap. There's then going to be a further 15 or so seconds before we get to John Ferrano, who is under pressure from Alexander Kwani in the Cool Racing car.
And the 8 car in GT3 still not quite lapping the 88, but Giacomo Piccini, bear in mind he is a gold graded driver and trying to lap a bronze in the form of Alessandro Baccani. So shortly we'll have only 3 GT3 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, behind Kwani, by the way, timing screen still showing Laverne at the wheel of the 30 car. That can't be the case.
No.
But he is being caught by the Acuri Cross pair. They, I think, are the cars to watch here. Oh, and the 24 car has stopped.
Well, it spun as a result of maybe the tyre problems. Was there some contact maybe, or did it go around all on its own?
It did get contact. It turned. I'm not quite sure what the Ferrari was expected to do there. Turned in too sharply. He's gone to escape that, and as he got the car running, he's in trouble.
This is at turn 4, and there is the CD Sport car then, heading now through 4 and 5. And having, well, heaped praise on Fabien Laverne, are we perhaps saying that Lawrence Herr did the opening stint then, because Herr should be quicker than Laverne? Or will that be adjusted in due course to show that it's the German driver now at the wheel? We'll wait and see, but the CD Sport car had been hustled up to 4th position by this point and is still showing driver 1 at the wheel for the second stint. 51 minutes to go. Here comes Ross Warburton out of turn 16 to stick 36 laps now in the book, and the gap is coming down between he and Jacques Wolf in the best of the Normas. It's now just 3.8 seconds, and Jacques Wolf will be one of those cars now In fact, it's that car, the DB Autosport 21 machine. White, black and red car with the red fin. And it is hunting down then Ross Warburton for the lead of this final event of the year in the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
So behind him, John Ferrano is catching both. Behind that, Fabien Laverne is catching all three. And behind that, Colin Noble is catching all of them.
This is what we like about multi-class racing, yes, but also utilising drivers with differing experience. And of course, you can either put that driver in for the start or the end of the race. Different teams trying different strategy. And it's fascinating to watch it all in the same melting pot.
So RLR Sport from DB Autosport, then the second RLR car, then the CD Sport car. The two Icurios Nielsen cars are rapidly catching the lot of them. Cool Racing dropping back as a result of that rather troubled entry into the race from Alexandre Poigny. And then we get into the Graf cars, 39. Trouillet is also a man on the move. Colin Brown, by the way, in the lead car in the United Autosports car is 9th position and going quicker than anybody else on the circuit right now.
Three cars together include the 88 EB Motors Porsche, and tucked in behind a couple of LMP3s, one of which is a Graf Norma. That will be, I think, the 40 car with Danny Liu now driving that. That's Marc-Antoine Danny Liu. It was a 65, I beg your pardon, and that is now in the hands of Damien Delafosse.
Can explain, by the way, why the 14 car was delayed in that pit stop nearly 30 seconds with thanks to Jeff Carter in the media room, because we said about that barge board flapping away. It carries the number, they had to repair it.
Okay.
That was a risk losing the number board, so that's cost RLR Sports, well, actually an opportunity. They should have led that race on pace. The difference to the pit stop time rather more than the gap on the road, so it'll be a pretty fired up John Ferrano, I'm sure.
Meanwhile, overlapping this time between 65 again, Delafosse and Christian England in the 23 United Autosports car. Neither of those two can get by the 88 Porsche of Alessandro Baccani.
This is the lead battle.
Yes, it is. At the inside of Ross Warburton goes Jacques Wolf on the brakes into turn 6, and that is the race lead bagged, at least for now.
We've got the race leader and the GT3 leader in the same shot. In fact, the GT3 leader looking to see what he can do about getting by Ross Warburton here. Just looking at what the... in fact, he's quicker at the moment than Ross. And he's going to get by.
And this is Christian England overtaking Damien Delafosse, hard on the brakes into turn 4, and careful not to run into the back of Baccani's Porsche. Meanwhile, clenching of the fist there for the guys down in the Inter-Europol pit, but not in, of course, they're not part of this race, merely sharing the space with the Polish crew. Let's hear about the dramas then in the first stint from Joop van Uter with Charlie George now.
Yeah, and down here at RLR, I've just actually had to grab you from the autograph session for ELMS because he's on double duty this weekend. How was that stint for you? The track conditions look a little bit tricky.
Yeah, the stint was mega. I had a good start and I was able to pass quite a lot of cars, and then that nice fight with Alex and also with Boga, and yeah, it was just a lot of fun to do and a good practice for this afternoon's race. Track was still wet in some places, so it took, yeah, it was tricky out there. In some corners you always had oversteer sliding because of the damp patches, but yeah, it was fun.
We saw you were carrying a little bit of damage. Was that causing you any issues?
Driving wise not, but then we had to repair it here in the box, and that costed us 30 seconds, so it brought us some issues in that way. But it was just a touch with Peterson. I think he didn't saw me coming because I was like pretty far along in, but he was probably not expecting that launch in turn 6. But yeah, that happens, but hopefully it doesn't happen in this afternoon.
We'll let you get back to signing your autographs. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Joop van Uter from car 14. It wasn't really the case that Jens Pettersson hadn't seen him coming. It was Jens Pettersson losing the car on the brakes, wasn't it?
Yep, well, certainly not have seen that replay yet, which is why there's possibly some confusion there. What is a Norma on my side pod? Yeah, watch for some news in the coming weeks for what happens with Joop van Uter. That is a young man in some demand in this paddock. Significant demand at that. Quick replay here of the move for the lead of the race. Up the inside from the DB Autosport car, 21 leads the way, pulling away now at 4.8 seconds ahead, by the way, of Ross Warburton. Ross is going to be under some pressure in about 2 or 3 laps time from John Ferrano, but behind Ferrano there is a pack of cars beginning to mass. About 30 seconds back to Leonard Heur in the 30 car in 4th position, but behind him it's a second back from Colin Noble catching Leonard Heur. It's 4.4 back with a bit of traffic for James Littlejohn. Alexander Joigny seemed to have recovered a little, is now just behind there, and then Colin Brown with a bit of a mountain to climb to get onto terms with Joigny, but I think he'll do that before the end of the race. This is going to compress really rather radically over the next 45 minutes, and this could be a bit of a grandstand finish to the season.
Dino Lunardi catching Eric Trouillet for 9th place as well, so 10th position and 1st position set to get closer to one another potentially. We'll find out in the sort of vice-like grip who are the winners and who are the losers then. You always get this natural condensing of the field in the latter portion of these races. Giacomo Piccini has been handed a terrific situation in GT3, and it was ever thus through the course of this season, all down to, generally speaking, the Sergio Pianezzola performance against his fellow bronze-graded drivers in the stints. And Sergio Pianezzola sets that number 8 car on course for its 4th victory of the season. Marco Ciocci trying to keep his head above water for 2nd place. It's Giorgio Sergio for 3rd position in the 83 Kessel Racing Ferrari in GT3. A pit stop under investigation for the number 30 car of Laurence Heur, so CD Sport car running 4th at the moment, but that stop now being checked by the officials for whatever reason. And we're concentrating for the time being on the battle between Eric Trouillet and Dino Lunardi. Lunardi with a tighter line through turn 5. This will give him a great straight line speed now between 5 and 6, and surely the opportunity to overtake? No, because better on the brakes, later on the brakes, Eric Trouillet sharing with his son again this weekend, and Dino Lunardi, who's taken that car over from Eric de Doncker, the 40-year-old Frenchman, having to wait and see. The 30 car with more drama, so the pit stop is under investigation, and Laurence Heur now runs wide. Also, the Brookspeed International car is off the road. Car number 4 being driven by Nico Ronde, and the rear wheels in the gravel trap at 12.
That's a bit of, there was a good run to that point from the Brookspeed car. Is this? That was contact. It was contact with Colin Noble. By the look of it, Noble also having a run through the gravel. Did he make it out the other side?
I can only assume he did.
He's lost a position because James Littlejohn has gone ahead of him. It's yellow flag at turn 12. But it wasn't turn 12 though, was it? Something else going on there.
No, that was 12. The incident with
misidentified.
The 79. Yeah, the 4 car is in the gravel at 12, and it's going to be a full course yellow to get that car retrieved, and that will start in 20 seconds time. So hopefully it won't take too long out of the race here.
For full course yellow.
Eduardo will count us into the full course yellow then in now just 10 seconds.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow. Full course yellow.
And this because of Nico Ronde's car that is off the road at turn 12, needing to be recovered after a clash with the 79 car of Colin Noble, who as a result has lost some ground, as Graham mentioned. The 2 teammates were together, James Littlejohn and Colin Noble, but they're now separated by nearly 2 seconds. Hopefully this will be a quick recovery, but gives us an opportunity to have a look back at the highlights of the race so far. We've had nearly an hour and 20 minutes of it. A beautiful day here in the southwest corner of Portugal, but it's very, very windy, and that I'm sure is having its effect on the car's performance in this race, whether they be LMP3 or GT3. A dramatic first few laps. We had an extra green flag lap to make sure everyone was used to the conditions, but I'm afraid into turn 1 a spinner and then some contact as the machine got T-boned there. That was the Keo Racing 43 car of Paul Scheusner, and sadly Paul's race ended there, as did the Danish squad's efforts. So we didn't get to see the teammates of Paul Scheusner, Johan Jorkanen, the Danish driver, take a stint, 28-year-old, and it is now 3 cars that, or 2 cars certainly, that are retirements, and we haven't yet had Mikey Benham's car rejoin the race either. There was the contact between Jens Pettersson and Jop van Uter. Jens, the German, losing the car under brakes into turn 6, and it speared left and into the side of the Uter-sponsored car. Side by side between the CD Sport machine from the back of the grid and Mikey Benham. So putting on a good show and a great stint. We think it was Fabien Laverne for the opening stint. The timing screen now would have us believe, yes, that Laurence Heur has taken it over. So Laverne, every credit to him for bringing the car from 25th position up as high as 4th. Mikey Benham had a drama at turn 16 where he lost all front end grip, tucked in behind another LMP3 car and maybe a little too committed through 16. So ended up out on the runoff area, and then he set about trying to overtake several more cars, and that was him slipping by the number 2 of Tony Wells at about 2/3 distance through his stint. Here was the lead change as Antonin Borger got completely the wrong side of a Ferrari, fell off the road onto the grasscrete there at 14, and Jop van Uter, the other side of the Kessel Racing Ferrari, took the race lead. So the Dutchman out front for British squad RLR M Sport. They were then had problems during the pit stop in trying to repair damage incurred in the opening stint, and the main concern was making sure the number panel was in its correct position. That cost them about 30 seconds. So now that number 14 car with some work to do in the hands of John Farano. You can see the damaged number board in that shot as the leaders diced with one another. An early half spin for Ross Warburton into his stint. Ross taking the car over from Alex Capadia. He was still in the lead at this point, but Ross's car has slipped to 2nd position since then. Good news for him is that John Farano is still about 8.4 seconds away though, so holding on to 2nd place at the moment. And there was another lead change. That was Jacques Wolf darting at the inside of Ross Warburton. And there is the scene at turn 12 where the number 4 car has been recovered and Nico Ronde hopefully is back in the race.
This could be a very significant full course yellow period, because what is not allowed to happen is the chasing pack to close the gap on Wolf in the lead of the race. And that was looking like that might be quite tight. Of course, that's time that's been effectively burned when there's no advantage been actually made there. So that'll be interesting to see by the end of this remaining 38 minutes of the race, Johnny, just what difference that may have made. So 21 car tucked under the rear wing of the GT leader, running 12th position, Giacomo Piccini. His car has run as high as 4th overall after that first corner incident.
And we're 15 seconds away from going back to green. So Eduardo Freitas, I'm sure the race director, will count us back out. Here we go.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green. Track is green. Track is green.
With 37 minutes and 39 seconds still to go on the clock, plus any extra time towards the end of the race as well. We don't bolt on an extra lap as such, but of course got to wait for the leader to come round and receive the checkered flag.
Great example there of the fact that Ferrari has got other ponies, dropped the LMP3 car. It's just actually ceded track position to the number 40. So
interesting. Okay.
Let's keep an eye on that. Hopefully no issue for the number 21. Sorry, 65 car it is. It's gone by him on the road, Damien Delafos.
Yeah.
Let's keep an eye on the pace of the lead car. Caught a little bit cold going green there, and maybe just found himself perhaps in a wrong gear coming out of that turn. Well, let's wait and see.
The pit lane officials are also investigating the pit stop for the GT3 leader.
Yeah.
Now that could have had further implications had the championship not already been sewn up, but nevertheless it brings into jeopardy potentially a race win for the number 8 car. We'll wait and see whether there's any further news on that. We do get these messages up on the screen and then often there's no further action, just like during a full course yellow. A lot of the time the speeds are investigated as well, and they will be at the end of that one. I gave you the gaps. That was a little bit misleading because, of course, they were all under the full course yellow. It's actually 1.1 seconds between Ross Warburton and John Farano, and John is coming.
John has just got the 88 EB Motors car between him and Ross Warburton. It's the RLR car with a red stripe, Ross Warburton, and the RLR car with the copper stripe and the UTEP branding along the side is John Ferrano. Those two battling now, or will be very shortly, for second position. The gap behind them, we'll call that at the line, I think, when we got the cars up to full speed on a racing lap. But certainly that gap has come down considerably. It was around 35, 36 seconds. It's now around, well, it's 20 seconds now. And it's now James Littlejohn who is the next man in the queue, with Colin Noble, who was next up, now beginning to close the gap to Littlejohn again. So Jens Wolf, Ross Warburton, John Ferrano, you have her, James Littlejohn, Colin Noble, Quagny, Brown, Lunardi and Trullier are your top 10.
And Alexandre Quagny is back up to speed now, having a few troublesome laps, very slow coming out of the pit lane. And we assumed after a little while that that was just down to tyre temperature, but then of course Quagny had a moment as well, sliding off the road at turn 4. But that's a better time this time from the Swiss driver, a 1:48.2, but most of the drivers ahead of him on the road are going quicker. So a 2:02 from Jacques Wolf, the race leader. That maybe spells a slight error on that lap. Ross Warburton was quicker. John Ferrano quicker still. But then the guys to really look out for, Laurence Heur, James Littlejohn and Colin Noble.
It was that error on that lap, if you remember. That's when he was taken by the Graf car. It was just the lap on which we went back to green. He'd actually passed the line and then seemed to struggle to get it underway, which is why it's slightly slower lap for him.
Indeed. Should
be rather more in the 140s. We'll see that, I'm sure, this time around. So 9 seconds the gap between him and Ross Warburton. 1.3 back to Ferrano. Then it's 17.8 back to her, with Littlejohn almost 6 seconds back. Noble 2 seconds back from that. Let's see what occurs here in the next couple of laps with the two RLR cars, with, well, the majority of the GT cars in this field duking around with them, and actually at the moment quicker, as I'm sure they try to get the heat back into the Michelin tyres.
Yes, and John Ferrano pitching the car in at turn number 1 there, with GT cars in front and behind, making sure that there is sufficient air flowing over the car so that he's got the grip as he turns in through that fast, full commitment right-hander to kick off another lap. We've had 44 of them already, and over half an hour still to go.
And this pair are being caught now very rapidly indeed by the chasing pack. Just 3 seconds back now as they clear the next sector. Well, they'd rather these Ferraris and the Porsche dematerialise. That's not going to happen. I think before that issue is dealt with, here they come, it's going to be the CD Sport car dragging up to the back of the RLR cars for what will then be a 3-car battle for second position.
This is going to get very entertaining indeed. Ferrari darting at the inside maybe of the Porsche, so Maurizio Mediani on Baccani for 5th position in class. And the Ferrari further back is Ollie Hancock. Oh, lock of the brakes there from Baccani as well.
And the CD Sport car is now right under the rear wing of John Ferrano.
Baccani coaxing the car vaguely towards the apex.
And goes ahead. CD Sports up to 3rd position. Now 3 GT cars between her and Ross Warburton for 2nd in the race. Deals with one of them very effectively indeed. I think it's a lapped car under his rear wing. It certainly isn't James Littlejohn.
No.
I think it might be.
Is it one of the United Autosports cars? I think it's 22, isn't it? Car 22 that was driven by Jim Maguire. It's now Matt Bell at the wheel.
Matt in spirited form and making his way back up the order rapidly.
So that car not in the same battle as such, not on the same lap, but nevertheless Matt Bell will be about the same sort of speed on a single lap pace. The Porsche has now dropped behind Maurizio Mediani, so Baccani loses 1 and possibly 2 places to Mediani and Ollie Hancock in the other red Ferrari. 2
bits of good news meanwhile for Colin Noble. No further action in that incident with the number 4 car that saw both the cars pitched into the gravel, and he's now gone back by James Littlejohn, so he's just 3 seconds back from this battle, 3 seconds back from John Ferrano. Colin Noble is coming as well, now in 5th position.
Yeah, so Noble will have a turn of bringing James Littlejohn with him rather than the other way around, and they're trying to get closer to John Ferrano, who is still 4th. The 2 Ecurie Cos cars 5th and 6th. Third position now, up to second rather, is Laurence Her. So Her has got ahead of Ross Warburton.
So the lead gap now 14.7 seconds. That's the time to remember this point. So it's now a normal 1-2.
Yes.
So 14.7 seconds. Then you've got the pair of RLR cars rather stricken in this batch of GT cars, but dragging up to the back again very quickly now. Colin Noble. Colin Noble in 5th position, but looking set fair here. If he can do as good a job through the traffic as Leonard Her did, that we could well see Curry Cross up to 3rd here within a lap or two as we just get into the final half hour of the race in, 15, 16 seconds time.
Maurizio Mediani over the line, and he's tailed by another Ferrari still. So those two cars virtually nose to tail.
And finally, we've got to the stage where the two RLR cars are nose to tail with no GT cars between them. Unfortunately for them, right behind them now is Colin Noble and James Littlejohn.
As Alessandro Piccani goes through turn 5, the Ferraris that I was talking about just ahead of him, I think that still is Ollie Hancock. Yes, it is. Okay, so Ollie Hancock has basically unlapped himself now on Maurizio Mediani. Sadly for Ollie, it hasn't given him a position in the GT3 category. Meanwhile, the 59 car of Ross Warburton is still under pressure here, massive pressure from Colin Noble and James Littlejohn just behind. So Ferrano is through, and now the 59 that was started by Alex Capadia has both Ecuria Cos cars on its tail. RLRM Sport number 14 disappearing up the road as the two United Autosport cars were side by side. That was 32, or rather overtaking the Cool Racing 24 car of Alexandre Coigny. So that was Colin Brown getting by the Swiss driver.
He's up to 7th position now. It's a good run to the front from Colin Brown as well, and he's next up behind this battle, albeit some 16 seconds back. Now it's a matter of just how long can John Ferrano withstand the pressure from Colin Noble.
Lead is down to 11.4 seconds after a personal best for Laurence Her through the final sector of this 2.9 mile, 4.6 kilometre track.
Noble is going to be in a hurry here. He wants to join that battle, and he can't do so until he does what he's trying to do now. Grabs 3rd position from John Ferrano. Good clean run there from John, but no answer to the pace of the young Scot. He's through. James Littlejohn will be next up, and now it's all about what can Colin Noble do about the 10-second gap he has to the 2nd place CD Sport car, and the 10-second gap ahead of that to the race leader.
Yeah, so 20 seconds to catch on the bronze graded Jacques Wolf, remember, as there's more changing, and that is the number 2 of James Littlejohn getting by John Ferrano. So Colin Noble got through, James Littlejohn a few corners later, and the Ecuria Cos now run 3rd and 4th, with RLRM Sport 5th and 6th. Sneaky look at the inside maybe from Dino Lunardi. That was on Alexandre Coigny.
This is for 8th, and we did say there'd be ebb and flow in this, and boy oh boy, there's a lot of overtaking at the moment.
Inside the final half an hour, and Jacques Wolf leads by 8.9 seconds from Laurence Her, the car that was started by Fabien Leverne. And we must remind you that car 30, the CD Sport car, has come from the back of the field an hour and a half ago.
And is rapidly catching the race leader. That gap, which was 11 seconds, a lap and a half ago, now down to 9. And Lunardi just goes very wide there, almost completely off the track in his efforts to get by the 24 car. Watching keenly now to see what lap times can be squeezed out of the chasing cars. So 1:47 last time around from Wolf, 1:44.1 from Her, 1:44.4 from Noble, and a 1:45.5 from Littlejohn. So the 3 chasing cars are all catching the race leader. The top 4 separated by around 20 seconds now.
Through 16 goes the fight for 8th position, and Coigny back ahead of Dino Lunardi there, with Coigny very wide out of 16, got all 4 wheels over the white line. That will have been spotted, I'm sure, by the officials. We've already had quite big penalties issued for repeat offenders abusing track limits in a variety of places around this lap. tight right-hander at 4 is crucial to your top speed through 5 and then the short burst of a straight to 6. It's straight in terms of trajectory, but you rise and then fall down the hill towards 6, and here's Dino Lunardi's second opportunity of an overtake, fully locked up and crossed up actually for the Frenchman, but he manages to get by Kwani, and that again is for 8th position. See if he can hang on to it this time around. 2 Norma separated now at the head of the order by just 7.2 seconds. And that was 12 seconds just about 3 laps ago. So Laurence Heur wasting no time at all. Gap opening up marginally back to Colin Noble. It's now 11 seconds, but I'm sure that's just because Colin was dealing with some traffic.
It's also to do with the pace of the second place car that is bringing that gap down substantially, and a lack of pace, I'm afraid, from the DB Autosport car, being caught by around 2 seconds a lap at the moment by the chasing CD Sport car. 7 seconds is the gap now. What can Colin Noble do this time around? Last time a 1:44.4, this time a 1:45.6. Remember, he's got the GT cars to deal with right now.
True. And he pilots a Ligier, trying to hunt down 2 Normas, but it's at 11.7 seconds now, the gap between 2nd and 3rd, with James Littlejohn 1.6 seconds further back. They're under no real pressure from John Farano now, who's more concentrated on Colin Brown,
who's just passed Ross Warburton and is up into 6th position in the 32 United Autosports car. Colin, who had a fantastic run, title run indeed, in an LMP2 car in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, and is relishing, I'm sure, the task here at this fabulous circuit of just picking out the lap times, picking up the places. I don't think it'll be very long before he's up into 5th position.
No. Very busy race for many drivers already. There's the 4 car which brought out the full course yellow after it fell off into the gravel at turn 12. Car 4 being driven by Nicolas Rondet, and they are door handle to door handle, both he and Ross Warburton, and that's the place bagged, although it's of course not a position, because the 4 car is well down now, 20th place. But Rondet quicker on this lap than Ross Warburton. CD Sport Machine of Laurence Heur has for company Matt Bell, who also is not on the same lap. Now, does Laurence Heur play the longer game here and allow Matt Bell through?
Matt is going to be looking to get back on the lead lap, and he's in terms of track time, that's 6 seconds from doing that. It's not quite that simple, of course. And Matt is the first lapped car down in 14th position.
But what Laurence Heur does not want to do is get embroiled in a battle that really doesn't matter. Matt Bell down in 14th position. Might as well let the northeastern and east man from the UK go. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Heur is bringing Matt Bell towards the race leader. It's 4.2 seconds now is the gap. But what was that, 11 seconds? Some little while ago. He has at the moment got the legs on Noble, just a 10th or 2 every lap, drawing away. But the close proximity of Matt Bell will not be helping that, I'm sure. Colin Brown, meanwhile, didn't quite pass Farano over the line, is still there with the RLR M Sport. This is the battle for 5th position.
Gained 4 seconds on him on the previous lap. This will surely be the overtake, and is. John Farano doesn't make that too difficult.
And Colin Brown is only 30 seconds off the lead, albeit we're running out of time, 22 minutes left. And meantime, drama for the car that is catching for the lead, now 2.7 seconds back, because there's going to be a stop and go penalty for a pit stop infringement from the 30. So it's a breathe again from DB Autosports, but they're going to now be worrying about the gap back to Colin Noble, which is 15 seconds.
Well, we did mention that the 30 car's pit stop was being investigated. Oh, there's contact as well coming through the final corner. That was Matt Bell trying to get the lap back, and it was Laurence Heur trying to fashion himself the inside line at 16 so he could get in the pit lane. So they were slapping sides there coming through 16, and thankfully it didn't unsettle either of the cars.
I don't think Matt realised he was going for the pit lane. We saw, by the way, disappearing at the bottom of the shot was the lead car. Matt Bell is now just 2.5 seconds on the road from unlapping himself and going much quicker than the lead car. We see the adjustment there. DB Autosport lead, of course. Then it's Colin Noble. 14 seconds now is your gap to be thinking about. 15.8 back to James Littlejohn. Colin Brown is now up to 4th. There's a further 10.5 seconds back from the Ikoria-Kos pair, and that has cost the 30 car Deer. Rejoins the race back down in at least 7th position. I think it's going to drop further, maybe down towards the end of the top 10. 21 minutes left.
Tucked in front of Alexander Coigny, so that will be 8th place for Fabien. Well, says Fabien Laverne. It'll still be Laurence Heur because they never had time to change a driver there. There's obviously something wrong with the transponder, which automatically defaults to Laverne. Anyway, that can be rectified at a later date. 20.5 minutes to go. The 30 car then, having had a go at not quite leading the race, but being close to it. And it's been an up and down affair, sadly, for the 30 crew. Qualifying fastest yesterday, but then having that pole position taken away because of an issue with the regulations about that front splitter.
And freed up from the anxiety of whether or not it's a battle for second or first, all of a sudden Colin Noble and James Littlejohn's pace has moved up a notch. It's the fastest lap of his race for James Littlejohn. He's in the wheel tracks of Noble, he's in the 44s as well, whereas Wolf only able to manage a 46.9, now 46.5. That is not going to be good enough if that pace can be maintained by the chasing cars. The Ikoria-Kos cars and the United Autosport car is coming.
There's Matt Bell on Wolf's tail. Now, this won't be for the lead, remember. It's merely Matt Bell unlapping himself, but it might potentially cause Jacques Wolf a problem. Hopefully the team can communicate to him that he can just allow this car by, and it won't be to his cost. What he doesn't want to do is start defending massively to Matt Bell. Doesn't like that's going to happen, though. No, Matt Bell sliding at the inside. And it's a clean overtake.
On to the lead lap then for the 14th place car, 13th in the class. Confirmed, by the way, that the CD Sport car did join just ahead of the Cool Racing 24 in 8th position. So that cost, well, 7 slots, didn't it? And a potential run at the win for Cool Racing. That was a very costly pit stop error.
Very costly splitter error as well. It indeed was a problem with the team, but they at least know the car can be quick, and that's a great combination as well. Both Laurence Heur and Fabien Laverne, the 33-year-old Frenchman, having his first action in the Michelin Le Mans Cup this season. So there are the Ikoria-Kos cars, 79 leading 2, and that's for 2nd and 3rd on the road. Colin Noble just a bit ahead of James Littlejohn.
Yeah, and nibbling tenths per sector out of this lead. It's under 10 seconds now, 9.2 seconds. As we see the 30 car.
That was
positional change, I think, just right now, just back ahead of Ross Warburton. So up to the 7th for the car, just having had that stop and go.
Yes, I had a memory of that overtake happening earlier on in the stint as well, so a carbon copy of it. Another black and white flag to the number 40 car for abusing track limits, which is the Graf machine of Marc-Antoine Danilou. Currently in 15th position and 14th in the LMP3 category.
And right now what we've got is Colin Noble and James Littlejohn are catching the leader. Colin Brown, though, is catching both of them, and Dino Lunardi is catching all of them.
Yes, and so again we're talking about this pincer movement that was well, Dino Lunardi was down in 10th place when I last used that quote, and it was the 1st and the 10th place cars effectively pinching together. Well, now Lunardi up to 5th place then, and condensing set to continue yet further. We're talking 22 seconds, that's all, between the 1st and the 5th placed cars. And Colin Noble's 8.6 away from Jacques Wolf, who's in the 147s, but Noble and Littlejohn far more consistently in the 144s. Colin Brown in that sort of ballpark as well, and Dino Lunardi just set the number 98 car's fastest lap of the race.
Just over a 10th off the fastest lap of the race overall so far that went to Alex Capardia in his opening stint.
And it was here, I'm pretty sure, last year when the 98 took victory, yes, because of I think a post-race drama when the number 3 car was either disqualified or given an in-race penalty.
That, I think, is Laurence Heur, rather. No, it's not. It's the 24 car going ahead of Ross Warburton. Coigny is up into 8th position. Gap now, by the way, for the lead down to 6.5 seconds. Colin Noble through in a 1:44.5 to a 1:46.7 from the leader. But again behind, that gap is still compressing. James Littlejohn not being dropped by Colin Noble, he's just 1.4 seconds back. Colin Brown more or less holds station then, but again into the 1:42s from Dino Lunardi. He's with Colin Brown now.
Yeah, and it was the 98 car that took victory 12 months ago. The 3 car won the race on the road, but then was disqualified afterwards. So Eric de Donker and Andy Merrick victorious on that occasion. Clearly the 98 car is very strong around this circuit, because 12 months later it's up to 5th place, and the best lap time that it's offered all race has just been done by French teammate to Eric de Donker, Dino Lunardi. 2 seconds off the back of Colin Brown, who's lighting up the timing screen as well for United Autosports. There is Jacques Wolf at turn 12, turning right and plummeting downhill. He's 5.7 seconds ahead. Just in the background there, creeping into shot, was Colin Noble and James Littlejohn.
Littlejohn is right with him. Littlejohn at the moment looks the pacer of the pair. Just exactly what is the game here? Is it just an all-out run with pace, or are you just keeping something left in those tyres for a final effort here? 5.8 seconds is the gap, as Johnny says. The top 5, 17.7 seconds between them. Biggest gap of the lot at the moment is Colin Brown attacking a 10-second gap back from James Littlejohn. Wolf, Noble, Littlejohn, Brown, Lunardi, Norma, then the Ligiers. Number 79, 2, 32 and 98. Cracking stuff.
Another 1.5 seconds gained by Colin Noble, that time across the timing line. So Wolf now nursing a 4.1 second lead over Colin Noble and James Littlejohn. And a smoky Colin Noble though. So that is now potentially a problem, or is it just late braking?
Big lock up.
That's all right. I just caught a glimpse of the car at slow speed with smoke pouring out the back of it, but well, how do the expressions appear in the Ecuria Cos car? They don't seem overly concerned by that. And we shouldn't be surprised to see Colin Noble pushing that hard. James Littlejohn matching him for speed, certainly just 0.8 of a second again off the back of Noble into turn 6. And the lead margin's down to 3.7 now.
Top 5, 15.5 seconds, 13.5 minutes to go. And we could find 3-4 of these cars together right at the end of this race. Looks almost certain as the 51 car is pitting. Maurizio Mediani, that is certainly not a routine pit stop.
And further investigation for the pit stops for car 8 and car 22. 8, I'd already mentioned, the Kessel Racing Ferrari of Giacomo Piccini and his teammate Sergio Pianazzola. 22 is the United Autosports car.
No further action on either of those, we're told. So there's no further dramas in the bank, if you like, for the number 8, the leading car in the race in GT3, and the championship winners, of course. Under 13 minutes to go, 2.5 seconds is the lead gap, 0.6 of a second back to James Littlejohn in 3rd, 9.1 seconds back to Colin Brown in 4th, 1.5 seconds back to Dino Lunardi in 5th.
And 3 GT3 cars together on the screen. In reality, they're a little bit further apart from one another, but the battle could be on for the podium positions. Marco Ciocci probably has 2nd place sewn up, but Andrea Piccini is pushing in 4th position to try and unsettle Giorgio Sernagiotto. 4 very quick Italians out front in their Ferraris.
This is the lead 3, the 2 Ecuria Cos Nielsen cars. There's the rear end of the leader. We're measuring now this lead in tenths. Top 3 cars, 2.1 seconds apart. And it's the Ecuria Cos cars at the moment that may not have the track position, but they do have the momentum.
Yeah.
James Littlejohn at the moment actually looking the quicker of the 2.
Yeah, going very well and chasing down the man from Edinburgh, Colin Noble. Meanwhile, side by side for one of the Graf cars. 65 possibly, because Damon Della Fosse has been on a bit of a tear. Yeah, was that a move on Christine England?
No, that was Trullier going past Guani.
Okay.
Trouble for the Brookspeed car on pit lane. You can see the damage there to the front of the car. But that looks like that might be the end of what had been a very promising run indeed from the number 4 Brookspeed International car.
Eric Trouillet now up to 8th place, and here's your lead battle. So 21, DB Autosport, Jacques Wolf under huge pressure now from Colin Noble, the man from Edinburgh, as I say, 22 years old. He has 30-year-old James Littlejohn on his tail as well. 1, 2, 3, absolutely together over the line and into turn 1 for the 58th time. 0.3 of a second, 0.4 of a second back to Littlejohn, and Colin Brown desperately be part of this lead battle, as well as just put in the car's best lap of the race, car 32. He's back in 4th.
And that is because this is now slowing up the Ecurie-Cos cars. Remember, that was 20 seconds, the top 5. 2 or 3 laps ago. It's 7.9 seconds now with just 10.5 minutes remaining. Up the inside goes Colin Noble. He'll take the lead of the race. James Littlejohn just tags the rear left of the Norma in his quest to go by as well. He's made it through. The Ecurie-Cos cars will try to make good their escape. We've got yellow flags at turn 15 at the moment.
I thought contact was avoided between Littlejohn
That was
and
just
Wolf,
a brush, I think.
Maybe. I don't think it will affect Littlejohn after that, and we've only got 10 more minutes of the race to go, but Jacques Wolf in one moment there loses 2 spots, and he's now going to have Colin Brown shortly for company 2. What happened at 15 then to bring out the yellow flags? There was a brush, there was some contact between Ross Warburton in the 59 car and 23.
Christian England.
Was it? Okay, yes.
Yeah, I think it was Christian.
It certainly wasn't 22.
No.
The other car from United is 32, and it definitely wasn't Colin Brown either, so yes, that would certainly fit. And therefore, Christian England going for a move on Ross Warburton.
Yeah, it was Christian, it's the Golf car.
Okay. And Ross Warburton, unfortunately, losing a full of time on that lap as he recovered the spin.
So topsy-turvy stuff. 2 battles then to think about now. One is the lead battle between now the 2 Ecurie-Cos cars. The other battle is the battle for the remaining podium position with 9 minutes to go, and that's because Colin Brown is herring towards the 3rd place DB Autosports car, now just 1.5 seconds behind, but with Dino Lunardi right on his tail. Gap now between the top 5 seconds.
Ferrari through 4 and 5 had to use the racing line there, and Colin Noble given little choice but to follow the 488 through. Now will be the opportunity to overtake, and I'm sure James Littlejohn will sneak up as close as he can to the back of Colin Noble.
Looking.
Well, yeah, partly for the lead, but also to make use of the space underneath the Ferrari. He didn't want to get caught behind the 488 out of 6.
A lot behind here because we've now got a nose-to-tail battle for 3rd position as well. This is the lead battle.
So we're not going to see anything stupid, I'm sure, between the teammates, but all equally, if James Littlejohn is faster than Colin Noble, which at times around this lap he's proven to be, they're in a bit of a quandary potentially here as to maybe set James Littlejohn free or just allow them to run nose to tail. They're not as quick though as the gaggle behind, which is virtually 3 abreast. That was Jacques Wolf, Colin Brown and possibly Dino Lunardi. Yes, it was. Yeah. Involved too.
It's mugged him, I think. He should be checking to see if he's still got his wallet there after that little tussle. Has he emerged from that corner ahead? No, he hasn't, because that is Colin Brown with Dino Lunardi. That is your new battle for 3rd position. Colin Brown has come from the bottom of the top 10 all the way up now to 3rd position, but he's now under pressure from Dino Lunardi for the final podium position. And neither should we count out these guys getting up with the Ecurie-Cos guys, because they've been consistently quicker over the last half an hour. 7.5 minutes to go. Noble, Littlejohn, Brown, Lunardi, Wolf. So we can start talking now about the top 4. 5 seconds almost dead between those 4.
And another move set to happen in the near future. Eric Trouillet, I reckon, on John Farano for 7th position, but you can forgive us for concentrating on this fight to decide the podium and also for 4th and 5th places, although Jacques Wolf having fallen to 5th, that will probably be the best he can hope for now. 19, nearly 20 seconds back to Laurence Heur in 6th place. But an inter-team scrap between the Ecurie-Cos Nielsen cars, with Colin Noble just ahead of James Littlejohn, Colin Brown catching the 2 of them, and Dino Lunardi is tailing the American as well. So 4 cars, all of which are Ligier's now, are out front on this lap 60. 6.5 minutes to go in the final Michelin Le Mans Cup race of the year. It's been a cracker so far, and still it's very difficult to predict who's going to win this. Colin Noble, though, into some clear air now, is edging out to about a second gap out front. and that might be the advantage he needs over James Littlejohn to allow this race to stabilise.
Been a great end of the season for the Kyrgios-Nielsen team. The car leading the race at the moment, finishing to this point with second, then the win at Spa leading this race. James Littlejohn and Tony Wells second last time out, looking for their first win of the season. Cracking end of the season from Sven Thompson's brave group. And Colin Noble just edging away now.
He is.
But they are being caught. They are being caught by Lenardi and Brown.
Oh, certainly. And I think that's the reason why Colin Noble's wasting no time at all in checking out from James Littlejohn, something he's not been able to do over the last few laps, purely because of the traffic they've been negotiating and, of course, needing to get by Jacques Wolf earlier on. They've now done that, and Colin Noble, it appears, is able to lap a little quicker than James Littlejohn. He was 0.4 of a second faster on that 4.6 kilometre lap. So if he can continue to the tune of that, well, then again it's starting to condense once more down to 0.7. So this is the yin and yang of a lap then that everybody is encountering.
I'm not calling this yet. This is the two chasing cars are well capable here of making this a four-car battle for the win, let alone a podium position.
2.1 is the gap between Littlejohn and Colin Brown. That's second to third, and Dino Lunardi again only another 7/10 back, as there are cars side by side arriving at 12, and that is the race leader Colin Noble overtaking 14. Yeah, John Ferrano, I reckon that was, putting a lap on the RLR M Sport car, or was it Ross Warburton? It's Ross. With the copper detailing. So into 15 go the Kyrgios-Nielsen cars, all four in the same shot there, because the red and black car is Dino Lunardi fourth. Colin Brown is the car just in front in the United Autosports colours. So Colin now able to get by Ross Warburton on the exit of 16. 4 minutes to go.
So with Dino Lunardi clearing that Ross Warburton car, the four cars at the end of that straight are 1 to 4, and the gap between the four of them, 2.7 seconds, 4 minutes to go. Remember, 25 minutes ago, 30 seconds between the lot of them?
Oh, yeah.
Astounding stuff.
Some.
Brilliant racing here.
Yeah.
Dino Lunardi now having a look at Colin Brown. I just wonder if he's just watching whether or not Colin's pace is bringing him forward. Don't make the risk there. See whether or not there's an opportunity in the final couple of laps here. But these guys all absolutely duking it out.
3.5 to go now, so we'll do the rest of this lap and one more, maybe two more.
Maybe two.
Yeah, it's going to be close. And let's just enjoy the fight in real time rather than working out how much more we've got to go.
There are no gaps in the top four that number more than a second right now.
Indeed.
0.9 of a second back to James Littlejohn, 0.8 back to Colin Brown, 0.475 back to Dino Lunardi, 2.2 seconds the gap, 3 minutes to go. Noble, Littlejohn, Brown, Lunardi, Kyrgios-Nielsen, Kyrgios-Nielsen, United Autosports and Motorsport 98.
And James Littlejohn still finding speed because he's just set the car's best first sector time on this lap. So impressive there from the Londoner. And in 14th position, bear in mind, still the GT3 lead is held by Giacomo Piccini. That's far less likely to change than this leading quartet.
Under 2 seconds the gap now, not for the lead, for the top four, and with no real caution that's affected this. This has been cracking green flag running from these four guys. Wonderful, wonderful stuff for the season finale at the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
They're going to cross the line with 2 minutes and 15 on the clock. It takes you 1 minute and 44 to get around here. So starting the penultimate lap now, Colin Noble, James Littlejohn, who is on the defensive, and Colin Brown overlapping. Dino Lunardi might be the man to luck into all of this and overtake the two of them. They're in the same order, but Colin Brown darting to the right. He can't do it at turn 4 though.
So playing a bit of a defensive game in defence of his position, but also playing a bit of rear gunner here as well, perhaps unwittingly, but Colin Noble has pressed that escape button again, hasn't he? Get out of here.
Safest place to be, you could argue, with the Red River Sport backed Kyrgios machine then still in second position, with in third United Autosports Colin Brown, and big grins down at the Kyrgios team then. They're enjoying this.
Yeah, spotting Roger Bennett there, Superbike racer, who's one of the team managers with the Kyrgios-Nielsen, enjoying that thoroughly. He'll know about wheel-to-wheel racing.
Well, certainly, and we've had plenty of this, and Has the United Autosports car still got the opportunity? There was contact at 6, I'm afraid, between Jacques Wolf and the 77 Ferrari of Andrea Piccini.
That's the 5th place car of Wolf. What is that going to cost him in terms of 5th place? It's 11 seconds back to the CD Sport car in 6th, but we can't worry about that at the moment because we've got under a minute to go now and under 1.5 seconds between these 4.
Well, the other concerning thing about Piccini's Ferrari was that he was under pressure from Giorgio Sergio, and that's for a podium in the GT3 category. Just 0.8 of a second between them now because Piccini was delayed through 6. This is Colin Brown's opportunity, surely, on James Littlejohn. Out of 16 they go. The United Autosports car has the inside line now for turn number 1. James Littlejohn stuck on the outside. What can he do? If anything, the Ecuria Cos car looks slightly better down the tubes here, but Colin Brown and Dino Lunardi's going to tuck in. No, he can't quite do it. I thought the hole generated by Colin Brown might benefit Dino Lunardi. It's just the 1-place gain, though, for the American.
Sublime run through the final turn there from Colin. Knew exactly where he wanted to put that car, put it there. Absolutely clean, beautifully done. 2nd place, United Autosports and Colin Brown.
All about momentum, all about putting the car in a gap that hasn't yet emerged, but you preempt it, and that's exactly what Colin Brown did. So, up to 2nd position, up to 2nd place on this final lap, but James Littlejohn is not done yet.
But neither is Colin Brown. Could he do this again? Could he do it through the final turn? Excellent stuff from all these 4 guys. Absolutely clean as a whistle this lead battle has been over the last 20 minutes. Excellent stuff. LMP3 racing at its finest.
I think he's relying on a slight error from Colin Noble that are like hen's teeth, and he's very wide indeed out of turn 12, so that might mean the opportunity swings back in the favour and James Littlejohn and possibly Dino Lunardi for the podium. We can't fit them all on for this final podium of the season. They would love it if that was the case, but we're going to have to lose one in this leading quartet. It's been tremendous entertainment for the last 2 hours, pretty much. The final event then of the 2018 Michelin Le Mans Cup season, and it's going to be all about the final step on the podium because Colin Noble will win this. Colin Brown in 2nd position is going to come close but just fall short, and 3rd position will go to James Littlejohn by a nose from Dino Lunardi.
Fantastic stuff for the season finale for Ecuria Cos-Nielsen. Well done, Colin Brown, made a hell of a race of that. Ecuria Cos-Nielsen, 2 cars on the podium, 2 crews on the podium. Hard luck, Dino Lunardi in Motorsport 98, a run that really deserved at least a podium finish. Kessel Racing come home with Giacomo Piccini to take another win and to further secure, put more nails in the board holding up the thing that says Champions of GT3. They'll be going to Le Mans. Kessel Racing comes home in 13th position overall. Home as well comes CD Sports with the number 30 car. United Autosports, Christian England leapfrogs as well. The number 21 car was off right at the end of the race. They come home in 7th. Then Graf Racing, Cool Racing and RLRM Sports, after dominating that middle part of the race, come back with nothing better than 10th for John Farano.
There were some puzzling expressions down in the Kessel Racing Ferrari garage there.
Almost,
well, they just seemed a bit perplexed, almost as if there's a decision still to come. I hope not about the 8 car. There was a message on the screen to say something about the 77 is going to be investigated, so maybe Andrea Piccini and his podium is under question. But just 0.6 of a second off the back of Piccini at the flag was Giorgio Sergio, and of course he was racing with Manuela Gosner in this race for the first time this year.
Well, we get to see the Ecuria Cos-Nielsen guys again later today, of course, in the 4 hours of the European Le Mans Series here at the Algarve International Circuit. Don't forget that gets underway in just about an hour and a half's time, Johnny. But what a great race that was for the number 79 car. Colin Noble brings it home. Alistair McCaig dogged in his pursuit of keeping his co-driver in the hunt, and boy did he pick up the baton. That brings Ecuria Cos-Nielsen's 79 crew home towards the end of their season. A moment just now about that, but with 2 wins in the Le Mans Cup, they're in contention and in the mix for race wins in the ELMS. They go from here to Asia for a 2-car effort, which features a number of these drivers with the Asia Le Mans Series, and a first adventure to the east for Ecuria Cos-Nielsen. This is a team we will be talking about for some time yet in international sports car racing. These are, well, I was going to say men with a plan, because the 79 car brings home another race win.
Yeah, and tremendous effort it was too. They are in a bit of a rich vein of form at the moment, and congratulations then to them, obviously missing out on the title, but with some race wins along the way and some exciting plans afoot for 2019 and beyond. Big hug there between Alistair McCaig and Colin Noble, victorious again, and thumbs up for the photographs. We'll be seeing them on the podium very shortly indeed.
Sven Thompson, the team manager at Nielsen Racing. What a fine effort they've made of a shift across from radicals, etc. Lots of one-make racing that the guys have been doing with small prototypes to LMP3, and they've become a force in this paddock. Cars always look immaculate, and a real gaggle of talented young drivers as well coming with them. Giacomo Puccini, he'll be pretty happy with that. Certainly. Finishes off the season. Big smile from Giacomo. There you can see those graphics, the silhouettes of the Le Mans Cup circuits on the title-winning GT car.
And congratulations to Sergio Giotto as well, Giorgio Giotto rather, for his opening stint in the number 8 car, and putting that GT3 leading machine in the right place really for then not exactly an easy run to the finish, but Giacomo Puccini, a very comfortable, very able GT3 pilot.
Well, so we talked a little bit about Joop van Uitert and his prospects moving forward. I'm tending to look at Colin Noble now and think, who's watching his progress moving forward here? Will we see Colin back in LMP3 next year? Will he be on the call list for LMP2 teams? Looking for talented silver drivers, remember, in this Pro-Am formula. Let's wait and see, but the drives we've seen from this team in the last 2 or 3 races, fantastic stuff.
Well, yeah, exactly. 2, back-to-back victories, as you say, hopefully will have not gone unnoticed. Let's hear from Alistair and from Colin now with Charlie George in the pit lane.
Well, congratulations, guys. 2nd win of the season. That was quite a race.
It certainly was. I mean, that's got to go down as the closest race of the year. Top 4 cars split by 1.5, 2 seconds. I just spent my whole stint battling with Tony and Michael Benham, and every lap was a fight. And Colin had a bloody good fight in his hands as well. He did a great job, so it was good fun. And
a great result for the team as well, having 2 of you on the podium.
Yeah, 1-3 I think it was, it turned out then, but yeah, I got a little bit close to the end, had a big flat spot from about full second half of my stint, so I just had to kind of trying to drive at the pace of the guys who were going behind. I knew I was strong at the last turn, so that was going to be the biggest bit where they could overtake me.
Well done, enjoy celebrating.
Thank you.
And they certainly will on the podium in a few seconds' time. Well done also to Colin Brown after that tremendous stint to finish his race, sharing the car with Naj Hussain, and also to the podium, James Littlejohn and Tony Wells, and a Kyrgios car to join the winners. The highlights, though, started just over 2 hours ago when the track was partly dry, partly damp after a lot of overnight rain. And a relatively untidy start. The front 2 rows were in formation, but then darting up the inside there, where there is no grip, was the Keo racing machine, new to the championship. And Keo, sadly, getting slapped in the side there by Adrian Schiller, who had nowhere to go. And it meant that Paul Scheusner was a retirement on the spot. We ended up with 4 cars not making the finish. The other one of the other ones was the 3 of Jens Pettersson, after it picked up some damage after Pettersson lost the car under brakes into turn 6 and slammed into the side of Joop van Uitert. So Kyrgios Nielsen's win, backed up by a 3rd place finish. And down the hill towards turn number 1 was the scrap between Mikey Benham, who had a good actually opening stint, although the odd mistake here and there, and the bigger problem for the 25 was the track limits and the abuse track limits at turns 1, 4 and 15, and it resulted in a 20-second penalty. And in the end, we didn't see the car again for its 2nd stint. Possibly that was Landon Racing electing not to run again, because they would have gone at least 1 lap down, possibly 2. Leonard Hugenboom not able to take charge of the Jens Pettersson car. That was carrying a bit too much damage after its clash with Joop van Uitert. And there was the Joop van Uitert car darting by the cool racing machine of Alexandre Coigny. Ross Warburton, who was the race leader at the time, had a big moment out of turn 4, which he managed to gather up. He taking that car over from Alex Capadia after a great opening stint. Jacques Wolf, though, was able to dart past the 59 into turn 6, and that gave DB Autosport a brief lead. Unfortunately, though, they had further dramas. The Brookspeed car clashing with the race winner eventually, remember, Colin Noble. So that was a heart-in-mouth moment for Écurie Kost Nielsen. Colin Noble having to take the car through the gravel trap at turn 4, and it meant the number 4 car ended up as a retirement. It brought out the full course yellow for the best part of 10 minutes whilst that car was retrieved. Side-by-side action as the Écurie Kost Nielsen cars were able to get by Jacques Wolf for what was at the time the race lead. Colin Noble through first, James Littlejohn then following suit and getting by Wolf in the number 21 machine, which eventually finished in 7th spot for the 2 Frenchmen, Wolf and Schatz. And there was the checkered flag, a 1-3 for Écurie Kost, and United Autosports to the podium. 2nd position for Naj Hussein and Colin Brown after a tremendous stint from the Americans.
Well, guys, you sewed up the championship last time out at Spa. You may have taken it easy this weekend, but clearly not. Another win number 5. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was great. It was great again. Sergio did an amazing start today. It was when I saw him P5 after the first lap, I didn't understand where he passed, but he managed very well. The conditions were very, very difficult. He gave me a perfect car with the team that made an amazing job as usual. So P1, P3 for Kessel in the race and in the championship is amazing. We are so happy.
Well done, guys. We'll let you get to the podium. Thank you.
Sergio Pianezzola and Giacomo Piccini. Sergio to the left and with a thumbs up there, and Giacomo Piccini to the right of shot, who did the 2nd stint.
Well, if you caught us late and you're looking to have a quick look back on perhaps on the YouTube channel and just fast forward for the really good bits, give yourself about 2 hours because that was a cracker. I mean, the high quality of racing, particularly to the flag, but also the drama as some of the less experienced racers got to grips with what proved to be incredibly tricky conditions at the start of the race. That one didn't quit. Excellent stuff. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Yeah,
really a nice way to end the season and look forward to the 2019 Michelin Le Mans Cup events. We already have a calendar which kicks off again next April with the first event at Paul Ricard, just the same as 2018. And just as we're going to a new track for the ELMS next year, or a track that we've not visited for a number of years, Barcelona, so too will the Michelin Le Mans Cup as well in support. So delighted that we get a Spanish and a Portuguese round in 2019. So some drivers are ready for the podium, others we are waiting for. I think it's Naj Hussein and Colin Brown who have been slightly delayed on their route to the podium. Here we go.
There's Colin. He enjoyed that very clearly.
Yes.
I'm sure Naj Hussein will be, that's going to be Naj's first podium, isn't it?
I think it will be, absolutely.
Big smiles on the faces of all 4 of the Écurie Kost Nielsen guys.
And understandably so. And therefore, a strong result for British teams, although United Autosports are Anglo-American. And we will hear when United Autosports stand on the top step of the podium, it's the American national anthem we hear, but they are based for these efforts in the ELMS and the Michelin Le Mans Cup in Yorkshire. Still discussions ongoing, and then in a moment or two we will do 2 separate podiums, one for the GT3 category and one for LMP3. But having thought the Normers might well do well in this race, and we had at one point Normers 1 and 2, the best placed in the end was only 5th. 64 laps completed. Écurie Kost Nielsen win it with their number 79 car ahead of United Autosports by only 3/4 of a second and 1.6 seconds adrift, so a second back from the 32 was the other Écurie Kost car. Motorsport 98, a win here last year. It was a 4th place finish in 2018 for Eric de Doncker and Dino Lenardi. The CD Sport car finishes in 5th place the car of Laurence Heur and Fabien Laverne. And in 6th position was the number 23 car, driven by Christian England and his teammate Richard Mines. Again, a good result for the Yorkshire squad. So United Autosports cars finished 2nd, 6th and 12th in the order. DB Autosport, a team that brought a couple of cars here this weekend, sadly one far too badly damaged after a Nicola Molini frightening accident in practice yesterday. So their lone car finished in 7th position, ahead of the best placed Graf machine of Eric and Adrien Trouillet, and then the Cool Racing car 9th, and RLRM Sport were 10th. To the podium then, in 3rd position, it's Tony Wells and James Littlejohn for Ecurie-Cost Nielsen. 2nd place in a moment or two. The trophies to be presented to Naj Hussain and Colin Brown. And then we'll get the winners up.
Yeah, double podium finish of the season for this pair as well. And let's hope we see them come back. Yeah, a bit of a swagger in the step there of Colin Brown. Naj Hussain, enjoy that moment. Colin getting used to this.
Indeed.
In LMP3s, but
it's great to see Colin regularly in Europe and regularly having fun as well. Absolutely. With success. So there he goes onto the 2nd step of the podium. But it is a win. 2 in a row now after victory at Spa a month ago for Colin Noble and Alistair McCaig. The silver and bronze pairing.
They will, being the reflective pair that they are, wonder what could have been had they not had actually a pretty dire middle part to the season, but finishing the year.
Is the national anthem for the winning team.
I was about to say they finished the year with a 2nd place and a double win, and well, with the DKR Engineering car, the championship winning car, retiring, that means the points gap comes down pretty dramatically. Rather flattered the DKR team until this point, but a more realistic, I think, reflection of form at the end of the year. Trophies being handed out by the president of the Automobile Club de l'Ouest, Pierre Fillon. And man in the glasses and the dark-coloured Nielsen Racing Ecurie-Cost shirt there is Roger Bennett.
The DKR didn't have a great Le Mans week, did they, either, with the races, the 2 separate 55-minute races that happened on Thursday and Saturday. So that maybe set their championship away from the ideal. They then put it back on track with victory at Red Bull Ring, but just did enough at Spa. I don't think they were going all out for the win, and a couple of costly errors for Jens Pettersson in the opening stint meant that they just bagged enough points and thankfully came here with the pressure off, and thank goodness they did, because it ended up being a non-finish for the number 3 car. Champagne sprays though, and surprise, surprise, the Ecurie-Cost team aren't really ganging up on the United Autosports. They're instead focused on spraying each other. It's been a tough season.
It has.
But big grin from Sven down in the Ecurie-Cost garage. He'd be a little bit gutted they didn't get the 1st and 2nd result, but a 1-3 is a good replacement. 103 points then. Jens Pettersson and Leonard Hugenboom came with that total. They don't increase it. Alistair McCaig and Colin Noble get closer to it with their victory. Tony Wells and James Littlejohn finished 3rd in that race and 3rd in the championship, ahead of Adrian Schiller, Marc-Antoine Danilou, and 5th place for Eric de Doncker, getting good points with his teammate Dino Lenardi in this final event of the year. They finished 4th in this race. We'll also get a look at the point standings in GT3 in a moment or two. Good drive from Laurence Heur, sharing this time with Fabien Laverne. He finished 5th on the road and 7th place in the championship it is. This is the teams in LMP3, DKR Engineering, again on 103. That didn't change through the course of the weekend. Ecurie-Cost, though, 2nd and 3rd in the championship, and that will be a delight, I'm sure, to Sven Thompson. Graf Racing 4th with their number 40 car. That's the Truier father and son duo. And Motorsport 98 bagged 5th place in the championship, the Belgian outfit for Eric de Donker, who shared one race with Andy Merrick at the start of the year and the rest with Frenchman Dino Lunardi. They're the scene again. Fantastic sight.
It's a beautiful circuit.
The tower, the 5-6 story tower, is well attended on that top deck because you get such a good view, not only at turn 6 but the rest of the track pretty much.
Well, you've got just about enough time to go and get yourself a snack, go and get yourself a cup of coffee, an adult beverage. Join us again as we wait for the GT3 podium, because we've got another 4 hours of racing here at the Algarve International Circuit later this afternoon with the European Le Mans Series and their season finale, and that looks like being a cracker as well. But about to welcome the GT3 winning crews to the podium, Johnny.
And again, this will be in reverse order. So Claudia Schiavoni and Andrea Pacini finishing in 3rd position. And it was only just the case ahead of Manuela Gosner and Giorgio Cernisciotto. That was the fight we were concentrated on, really. To the flag was the fight for 3rd position. The other 2 spots were more or less secured at about 90 minutes in. Pier Giuseppe Perezzini and Marco Ciocci for AF Corsa finish in 2nd position. And they take their rightful spot then after a firm handshake to the guys on the other side of the podium for Kessel. And it is the Swiss squad, Kessel Racing, who are going to Le Mans next year after Sergio Pianazzola and Giacomo Pacini won the championship, but it is them on the top of the top step of the podium in this race in isolation as well. So their points tally will be extreme. I'm sure we'll get a look at the points in a moment or two. But first of all, the national anthem of Switzerland for Kessel Racing. So it's a Kessel 1-3, much like Ikuri Costed in LMP3, and sandwiched between the 2 AF Corsa of Italy. And well done to Pier Giuseppe Perezzini and Marco Ciocci for their hard work at the wheel of that car. Claudia Schiavoni and Andrea Pacini will receive trophies first of all, though. And then we will get the opportunity to spray champagne for the 2nd time. It looks pretty chilly up there on the podium right now.
It does look pretty chilly. And getting the trophies from representative of course, the championship partner, Michelin. All the cars in both classes are Michelin rubber. Some happy faces, particularly for Kessel Racing. Yet another Swiss flagged effort in endurance racing.
Car's already out, by the way, for a next race, and as I was alluding to the fact that it's been a jam-packed schedule for the spectators here enjoying our TCR race.
Yep.
But the champagne will spray and fly for the Michelin Le Mans Cup winners, 2nd place and 3rd place finishers too. And we can now have a quick look at the GT3 Drivers' Championship, because 138 points is the total that Giacomo Pacini and Sergio Pianazzola get to. Christoph Ulrich and Maurizio Mediani on 83. They were 2nd in the title hunt and fell off, didn't manage to finish on the podium in that individual event. Andrea Pacini and Claudia Schiavoni 3rd in that race and 3rd in the championship, ahead of Marco Ciocci and Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. Very close actually for 3rd in the championship, just a point in it. Well done to John Hartshorn and Ollie Hancock, who finished in 6th position. Matteo Cressoni and Murad Sultanov not here this weekend. And the teams championship will take a very similar look to it. The Swiss squad and Spirit of Race also from Switzerland, dominant in the championship, but it was the 8 car that sealed the title at Spa a month ago. They'll go to Le Mans next summer. 183 points plays, 83 for Spirit of Race, and the sister Kessel Racing Ferrari crew on 79, just a point ahead of the AF Corsa machine of Italy. The EB Motors Porsche finishing in 5th position. So that's it for Michelin Le Mans Cup. We've only got about an hour off before we start our build-up for the European Le Mans Series. For the moment, though, from Graham Goodwin and Johnny Palmer, it's bye-bye.